mouse. No audio, and you're not getting any audio either because I haven't set up that to come through my headphones.
So the full stream, guys, is on Stephen Ryan podcast on YouTube. If you look up Cider and Pour, it'll come up as well. Today we're going to be discussing. Hope that's working. You can hear me, right?
Yeah. I can hear you, man. And my audience on both YouTube and TikTok can also see you as well.
So today we're going to be. Actually, I'll let you do your whole thing. I was trying to tell the TikTok audience what we're doing, but
You're fine. Yeah. So basically, well, yeah, I mean, like, we had talked before, and it was a very good conversation and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, like, it was just super interesting. It was super civil the last time, and we didn't agree on hardly anything, but fuck it, we had a nice conversation, and that's what I think the main thing is, right? So yeah, now I know why the TikTok stream looks weird. It's because I'm fucking, if I do. Now the TikTok stream looks good. Okay. I can't see my YouTube comments, but fuck it, it's fine. It looks good on TikTok now. So, anyway, I am a professional streamer of 12 years. You wouldn't tell, but there we go. Seriously, dude, honestly, it's like a running joke in some of my kind of, like, people who have been subscribed to me on YouTube for years. It's a running joke in like my kind of community. It is not one of my streams unless there's at least one technical issue. Like, it just always happens. But look, anyway, fuck it, we're here, we're having a good conversation. It's all good. So yeah, I mean, like, I had kind of given you a couple of because I'm not going to fucking jump straight into it, because you got married recently. Congratulations, my dude. Absolutely congratulations. Genuinely chuffed for you, man. Do you know what I mean? Like, look, we might not agree on too much or anything else, but fuck, genuinely, absolutely, that's just, yeah, that's absolutely fantastic. So
thank you so much, man.
Not a bother. Yeah, well, look, in the spirit of it, we will kind of jump in. So I had given you a couple of kind of topics, we'll say, that we were like maybe kind of want to talk about and stuff like that. So, like, do you have one that you want to, like, start us off with, or?
I'd let you, as the host, you can kind of go ahead. Like, I looked at a couple of the topics, and to be honest, I think I've kind of fallen out with American politics a little bit. So it will be an interesting chat.
Okay. Yeah, look, it's, I mean, it's definitely fucking wild. I didn't know, honestly, whether you were going to kind of be approving, shall we say, of the current administration in the US, but there we go. What was that? There was another one then, I mean, like, literally, like, right at the very, 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 very start of it, of the administration. There was, like, and this was definitely one of the topics that I had said to you as well. There was, like, a mega viral moment when the was she a bishop, or was she just like a priest, or? Because I forget her actual title. It was a while ago. Let's just be fair. It's the 20th of February. It was a month ago. Let's just be.
I think she was pretending to be a bishop. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, we'll have some talks about that, but whenever. Yeah. So. But yeah, I mean, like, it went super viral. Everybody in YouTube and TikTok live chat, if you think that you're thinking of the clip that you think I'm talking about, it's that one, right? It's when they were in the church. I think it was like just like the day after Trump was inaugurated, that he went to this church, and it was him and JD Vance, and I think Melania was there, and JD's wife, I don't know her name, I'm sure she's a lovely woman, but they were all there, basically, and it was this bishop that got up and was kind of talking about all of these sorts of but yeah, she just gave like a sermon, but then it was also kind of like an appeal to the incoming uh Trump administration. So I personally loved it, and as someone who is an atheist and who has been an atheist for the last 13 years since I was 16, I mean, like, I'm not going to say that like it convinced me to become religious again, but I described it at the time as arguably the most positive view or interpretation or view of Christianity that I have seen in a very, very, very long time. Because, you know, I mean, like, from like a biblical perspective, I don't think that nothing that she said was anti-Christian, like, was anti-biblical. So I mean, I had seen that you had done a video on it where like you were against it, shall we say. So do you want to kind of say some of the things that you had, say, like kind of like issues with or something like that, and we'll kind of go from there, I guess.
Yeah, so I think really my issue mainly is to do with her impersonation um, as someone who's carrying out holy orders, right? Like acting as a bishop. It's actually not really with her message. My message has really started. I mean, my thought process on immigration has really started to change. You know, like when I kind of seen Trump was stripping people from their homes, you know, I was thinking to myself, this isn't what I wanted, right? I wanted reinforcement of the borders and this type of thing, and I think that's okay, right? But her plea to Trump to show mercy is very Christian, right? We see that as Christians, when someone, let's say, for example, takes something that belongs to you, don't demand it back because it wasn't even yours in the first place, right? The principle we have to really follow is love your neighbor as yourself. And I think if Trump wants to go and say he's a Christian, and if he had fled to a country in a time of need, he wouldn't want to be kicked out of it either, right? So that was her plea, I think, was really to just for him to show mercy. But my problem with it is that as a like she's not a bishop. She's not a real ordained priest or bishop. Women cannot carry out holy orders, historically and biblically. I have no problem with like I'm not like a misogynist in that sense. A lot of people think like when a Christian says this, they're a misogynist about it. Like there's specific roles in the church. Like if you're going to be a Christian, abide by what you're supposed to do as a Christian. You know what I mean? So that's really my issue is that she comes along and she's pretending to be a priest or a bishop. Now I actually don't know much about her. I don't know if she is like extremely liberal, right? We see that a lot in like Anglican churches in America, like these
Mm-hmm.
extreme liberal churches. They don't care about the Bible. Or she could be a conservative Anglican that just is carrying out ordination as a bishop or a priest. But I still would disagree with her that women cannot be priests, pastors, anything like that. So that's really where my issue is.
Yeah, okay. Hmm. So, right, but I mean, like, did you kind of disagree with like the words of her message, or it was literally just the fact that like it was a woman that was on the pulpit, kind of giving that message to begin with?
Yeah, it's just a woman giving that message to begin with, really. And I don't know, like it's kind of like a little bit. I'm trying to think. Is it inappropriate what she done? You know, I can't really even remember now what she fully said. Do you remember? Like, can you quote what she said
I
fully?
mean, I can kind of quote bits. Obviously, look at again, it was a month ago, so you know, my kind of memory of it is a little bit hazy. To be fair, I probably should have looked at it at least in the last kind of couple of days, just to kind of get like a better kind of understanding, or you know, to be able to directly quote. But I mean, like what she had said essentially was that she wanted people, or she wanted the Trump team to be respectful of immigrants, and to not kind of ostracize people of marginalized groups such as LGBTQ, or just kind of immigrants in general. I mean, like she had kind of done, like she had kind of said a lot of those sorts of things. And look at, with LGBTQ specifically, I'm not going to say biblically you have a better argument there, but I mean, objectively speaking, with immigrants, I mean, the biblical argument, I mean, is crystal clear. Like you just like almost like you just simply just don't have an argument there. That because the Bible teaches us that, you know, Jesus told people to welcome the foreigner and to treat foreigners as, you know, as you ought be treated. So, you know, it's, and then I mean, like, he didn't just say that about foreigners. He like, he had just said that about like everybody. Treat your neighbor, treat the people around you as you would be treated. So I mean, like, you could kind of say that for LGBTQ members then as well. But look, it's
See, that's the part where I'd probably be like, I don't know, like, I'm not saying mistreat LGBTQ people, but I was just checking there to see what she said. She's talked about, you know, letting transgender people get their operations and these type of things. So
mhm.
maybe she is leaning more liberal in the sense that she supports LGBTQ. That's where I now have an issue. You know, standing in the place of someone who's a representation of Christ. Of course, I'm going to call you a blasphemer. You know what I mean? That's where there's an issue. The immigration thing, I most likely agree with her. But then to go and, you know, like, you can stand there and say, don't persecute LGBTQ people.
Mhm.
That's perfectly fine. Jesus would agree with that. But when it comes to promoting the ideology of transgenderism and LGBTQ identity, um, then I would say no, right? I would probably agree with, like, I don't know if you watch like Michael Knowles and stuff, like his kind of and that type
I
of stuff.
am familiar with Michael Knowles. Yes, you probably won't like my opinion of Michael Knowles, but however, um, I mean, like, we can definitely kind of talk about that. But I mean, like, the question that I would just kind of have, because you accused her of like possibly blaspheming. What did Jesus say against trans people?
What did Jesus say against trans people?
Yes.
Are you like referring to like the eunuchs, or are you on about like?
Just kind of specifically talking about what did Jesus say about trans people. Because I mean, like, look, I could be wrong, I could be wrong, but to the best of my knowledge, he didn't really say anything. So again, I could be wrong,
Well, like Paul's letters would kind of also be the instruction of the Holy Spirit, and we see, you know, like the issue with transgenderism is to say that you have changed your gender is no longer carrying out the role that God has given to you, let's say, right? So, like, we do see in 1 Corinthians 11, Paul condemns men dressing and looking like women and vice versa, right? Because the history of Corinth was that men used to grow their hair long and dress like women and wear jewelry, and women would cut their hair short to look like men and be more masculine, right? And Paul condemns it even at that time.
Well, I mean, look. So I kind of disagree that it is an accurate depiction of how kind of Jesus would have looked in like pretty much all types of like media or photographs, or or just kind of like sculptures, or like any sort of depiction of Christ. I do not think that that is an accurate representation at all. I mean, at least not historically. I mean, for Christ's sake, he's portrayed as being white and he was born in the Middle East. He absolutely wasn't. However, isn't Jesus in almost every depiction shown to have long hair?
But also has a beard, right? So Christ.
True, but would Jesus himself not be going against biblical teachings if that was the case?
So it says that his hair. Well, one depiction of Jesus is when he came back. So like after he had ascended and came back, he is depicted with eyes like fire and hair like wool, and it's white. And then the pictures that you probably see are pre-ascension, when Christ just was walking around before the crucifixion, and his hair would have been long because he was a Nazarene, right? The difference is what was going on in Corinth at the time was the men were intentionally trying to look feminine, right? Because people used to say to me, Rob, your hair is long. The Bible says you can't have long hair. The question is how long? What is Paul really talking about here? Paul is talking about presenting yourself in a different role or as in a different identity rather than being a man, right? We see Orthodox priests, they don't cut their hair and they don't cut their beards. That's to do with something else, but they're not trying to present themselves as women. That's what was going on in Corinth. That's what Paul had the issue with.
Right. Yeah. Look, I mean, okay. Like, it's not that I don't. Sorry, I thought I fucking heard a noise or something like that. Anyway, sorry. Because I was just thinking, I'm fucking home alone. Why am I hearing noises? Sorry. I was, yeah, sorry. Not that I necessarily want to just kind of move away from this or anything else, but like, it's just religion, as you know, as I had said the last time, it's not something that I overly kind of talk about or anything else. And I mean, at the end of the day, like it's always going to kind of boil down to it's my opinion versus your opinion, right?
Yeah.
So, and look, I mean, like we can kind of look at some things that are in the Bible and we can have a discussion there, but it's just, yeah, like, okay, so was there anything else of the kind of list of things that I kind of sent to you that you would kind of want to have a chat about? And I'll just kind of quickly look at the list myself because I just want to join or to jog the memory.
You mentioned Elon doing the salute, and you mentioned has trailed the US, and then you mentioned AOC. I don't know much about the whole AOC thing. I did do a little bit of research, but that one I probably can't give the best opinion on because I didn't really know much about it. But with the whole Elon thing, maybe I can give an opinion on that. And then with Trump failing the US, yeah, I'm willing to talk about it. So.
Okay. Well, I mean, of the three, kind of pick your choice, you know.
Let's go with the Elon one first.
Okay, yeah, sure. Let's get the spicy one. Do you know what? Honestly, Rob, I'm genuinely so happy that I'm having this kind of conversation, right? The last couple of times that I've gone live, right, I don't normally have this background, as in it's blurred and it's blue. It's just like a series of prompts that I kind of made, right? And one of them was that Elon did do that salute. Almost fucking nobody has taken me up on it, so I'm fucking thrilled that somebody finally has. But anyway. Yeah, so, I mean, yeah, just go on, kind of state your position there.
Yeah, so it's a weird one because I'm half and half, to be honest, right? Never really, like, I'm not like a fanboy or anything of Elon. I respect what he's done in his career or whatever, and, you know, what he's done for cryptocurrency and stuff like that. With the whole salute thing, I feel like we can never actually really know, right? Contextually, it can be taken out of context and it can be made look like he's, you know, doing that salute. Then also you can go along with his statement where he said it wasn't, and what he's saying really happened, and that was a heat of the moment thing. And I feel like it's a tough one. Like, has he really expressed anything else that he's shown that he is a sympathizer of the painter man?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So the oh my god, I'm going to butcher the 3 letters now. It's the ADF, I think, is a far right party in Germany, of all places, and they have very, very, very publicly expressed their shall we say sympathies of the Mustache Man, and he called in over Skype and did a speech at one of their rallies. So, like, and then also Elon has never specifically said that that's not the salute that he did, and it was a couple of years ago. I think it was at some Tesla event, where in order to kind of show with his hands and with his arms and everything else, because I talk with my arms and with my hands because I'm autistic. I don't know if that's actually the reason, but I happen to be, and I happen to talk with my hands. In a way of kind of showing that his heart went out to the audience, which is what he said after he did that salute, which is he went, my heart goes out to you. That's what he did. No. Previously. So look, I mean, I have no issues with that. If you want to show with if you want to talk with your hands, showing that your heart goes out to you, that is bang on. That is absolutely, like, that's perfect what you did there. Saying, however, that your heart goes out to them after doing that salute, like, I just don't think that puts it into, like, the proper. I don't think that there is a proper context for that.
Yeah, see, it's a tough one. It really is, because the way he done it as well was weird. Like, and then my other part would be, like, he's running around with Donald Trump, who I wouldn't say is a sympathizer of the Mustache Man, because he's very good friends with the opposition of the Mustache Man. And I would also say that Trump, who I've been doing more research on lately, is definitely not a Christian. He is a Jew.
Oh, okay. I wasn't expecting you to go. I would agree with the first half of that statement, just maybe not the last three words, if you count A as a word. But yeah, that's okay. Yeah, I mean, I would definitely agree with you that no, he is absolutely not a Christian. That is laughable. I mean, for Christ's sake, he did a photo op where he held the Bible upside down. What the fuck are you doing, like?
On the Bible during the inauguration, and like, there's some Christians speculating that, like, he's the false Messiah that's supposed to come, and it could be true. It actually could be true. I never really was like this. I never had that savior complex of Donald Trump. When he talked about Christ, I was happy, and I like his conservative values. But to hear that he's practicing Kabbalah, and he's a big sympathizer of Israel, and all these awards he's getting, he's been declared the Prince of Peace by Israel, he's been given a crown by Israel, he's all of these different things. Is there connotations there? Like, a lot of people are turning on Trump now. The anti-Semitic people are turning on Trump. Mm-hmm. Why would Elon do something like that? I don't know. It's a bit weird, if you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
if he and Nancy.
Yeah, no, I mean, I do definitely understand what you're saying. I mean, like, Trump is also the person who had Nick Fuentes to, like, he had him for dinner in Mar-a-Lago, and he sat down with him for like a couple of hours. And I mean, we all know who he is and what he believes, and this is a guy who he like invited to his personal home. This was like, I think it was like 2022, maybe 2023, but it wasn't like that long ago. So like, you're talking about during Biden's administration, he had this extreme far right schmatzi in his personal home for dinner. And then he has Elon. I'm like kind of going like in order of as it happened now, but he had Elon like the day of his fucking inauguration doing that salute. Now he has talked about taking over all of these places. He wants to invade Greenland. He wants to make Canada the 51st state. He's talked about, not specifically, but he's talked about doing something with Mexico. Of course, he wants to take over the Panama Canal. He has said that he wants to essentially buy Gaza, which I don't know what his obsession with buying places that are just absolutely not for sale. Like, what the fuck are you doing? So like he's absolutely talking about invading all of these places. He had an executive order that reopened Gitmo, and he wants to put 30,000 immigrants into Gitmo, which has a max capacity of 1,000 people. Now, I don't know necessarily if that's just a camp that he just really, really, really like seriously wants to heavily concentrate on, but that's definitely the vibes that I'm getting.
I hear what you're saying. I do. I hear what you're saying. You've built a good case.
Like, look, honestly, and I mean genuinely, 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 during his first term, I equally cringed as much as I'm sure like anybody who was on the right did when other leftists said that he was the new Schindler, right? I understand that. I genuinely, genuinely did. But I'm sorry, man, the evidence is too fucking much now. Like, it's too, like, the case that has been built is just too much. Like, I can't kind of, ignore that, like.
This can nearly transition into our next point. Like, did he fail the US? Like, that one there, I don't think he's failed the US, right? But I do like some of the stuff he's doing. But you can also make the point that, Schmittler done things supposedly that were good for the country. You know what I mean? But I'm conservative, but I'm not one of these alt-rights that's going to sympathize with him. Oh, the Holocaust was only 200,000. He was a good guy. Da-da-da-da-da. I'm not one of those guys. I'm never going to end up as one of those guys. You can't be Christian and support him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have been thinking lately, like, genuinely, I'm sitting back and I'm thinking, are we going to look back in 100 years and view Trump the same way? The way we look back at World War II?
I don't know if it's necessarily going to be the same way unless shit really escalates. But I mean, it's not necessarily something that I've like specifically kind of thought about, as in like how are people going to look back in like 100 years time on what's kind of happening now. But like it's definitely I don't know. I like, oh god. I mean, like, I don't think that he's like viewed favorably now by like more than 50% of the country. Like you're talking about in 100 years time. I like if you were to somehow kind of gauge the approval rating in 100 years time, I mean, like, it's like, is it possible to go into negative numbers? Like it's because I mean, like, this is just how kind of society and everything else as a whole is kind of generally going. We are generally getting slowly but surely kind of more progressive, more kind of certain, in certain areas kind of more left leaning and something like that. So it's I don't know. I don't think that people are going to look at him in the same way, but I don't think that he's going to be viewed positively.
As someone who, as I spoke about before, I'm a theocratic fascist. I really was like hoping that if Trump got in, he'd give a lot more power to the church, and we would get back to that, right? Because obviously that's what I support. But it seems like, I don't know, like he is becoming quite dictatorial in the sense that he's kicking as much of the left out as he can. I don't really support statism at all. I think it just falls apart. And in 4 years' time, a Democrat's going to get in, reverse everything Trump done, and it'll just be back and forth, this never-ending cycle. And this is why I just believe the church should just be in power. But
I mean, like, that's like it's definitely something that I kind of had conversations with like anybody who would disagree with the prompt of like Donald has ruined the US when they kind of come up to argue specifically against that, and they're arguing in favor of tariffs and stuff like that, and it's like, okay, look, let's just run down the argument, right? So all these tariffs have been placed, right? So now it's on the US companies to have the manufacturing there so that it's at least kind of price competitive, if not a little bit cheaper, blah, 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 right? That's the argument. The issue with that is that if you if you are a US company, you currently don't manufacture your goods in the US, which means that you have to build the plant or the kind of the warehouse or the entire area where all of the manufacturing is going to happen. That shit doesn't happen overnight. That's probably about 2 years away. That's probably the best kind of calculations is about kind of 2 years away, if not longer than that. So are you really going to spend all of the money to make your manufacturing plant in the US so that possibly if a Democrat wins next time and undoes all of the tariffs, you're like your plant is there is now just there just taking up real estate? So like, do you just kind of, you know, bite the bullet and suffer the consequences of the tariff and not build in the US, or do you build in the US knowing that possibly it's all going to be undone in just a few short years? So say it's 2 years to make it, 2 years later it's now obsolete, right? That's the kind of counter argument. And like I don't know, man. It's
So, if more people build small businesses in America, right, and they go through with that, and they see that the economy is growing, wouldn't you say then another conservative would get voted in that Trump promotes, let's say, that would keep on those tariffs and those same tax cuts and stuff like that that Trump has already proposed, those orders he's put in place? Because if one conservative has done a good job for the country, let's say, okay, Trump's character is bad, but he like does everything he says he was going to do to the economy, and people see that, people are going to value the economy a lot more than their feelings sometimes, because money does make the world go round, unfortunately.
yeah, no, absolutely. No is the honest answer. No, I don't think that he's going to be that a conservative is going to be voted in next time, and that is because the US this time voted with their kind of their wallet in their mind. And the US is currently still under Trump's tax plan from the first time that he was in office. It is in effect, I think, until March of this year. So for the entirety of the 4 years under Biden, they were under Trump's tax plan, right? So people were noticing that inflation was going up, that their taxes were higher, which was always supposed to happen, all of these sorts of things. And they blamed, well, Biden is in office because, I mean, like, unfortunately, people just don't really know that much about politics. Like, I mean, especially in the US, they're really... I'm sorry, I love my fucking US audience, but they're like the vast majority of them are really, really, really stupid when it comes to politics, and they just don't look into how this shit actually works, right? So they were doing bad under Trump's last tax plan. They blamed Biden for it, and so they thought, well, Trump is running against him. He's like, maybe times were good when he was there before, because the first couple of years of his tax plan, low and middle class earners saw a tax cut, but then eventually saw a tax increase, which again was always supposed to happen, right? So they voted him back in to hopefully have that exact same thing happen again, and they would have a tax cut, therefore they would have more money in their pockets. But the problem with that is, if Trump now does yet another one of his kind of tax plans, he can't say, oh, well, that was Biden's, because it just wasn't, because then he's defeating his own argument, which is that Biden, when he was in under supposedly his tax plan, ruined the country the first time. Now Trump gets in, does a new one. If that works out badly for low and middle class earners, which it will, then they're just going to switch and they're going to vote Democrat. That's at least what I think is going to happen. You know, if the next Democrat running kind of like builds a good case and does kind of like basically kind of exactly that, if they like lay that out, an awful lot of people are going to listen to him.
What if he follows in the footsteps of the like Argentinian president? Like with all the government, like, you know, he's cutting out the government wastage, tax refunds. You know, there might be a bit of a loss in the beginning, but like, look at what Argentina has turned into already. Like, it's just gonna keep going up.
Okay, so by doing what specifically have they kind of implemented?
So like, kind of like what Doge has done, cutting out government wastage, cutting out all these departments, that supposedly are needed, right? A smaller government. And Trump has already said he wanted a smaller government. What Argentina has done, which I wish I had more research on this, my friends are very in tune with Argentina at the moment. You know, departments of education, department of this, that, and the third, just cuts them out. Gone. No more government spending on any of these departments. They're, I'm pretty sure they're out of national debt already. Everybody's, the inflation has gone down. He is he has lowered taxes in turn because there's not as much government spending, and then people are getting more money in their pocket, and they love him. They love him. They really, really love him. And
Um.
Trump just met with him, I think, last week. I think it was. You
Okay.
should do some research. He's
Yeah.
kind of like a libertarian. He leans more libertarian.
No, I mean, I definitely will. I like. Are you then like would say like in favor of them kind of cutting or like looking at the Department of Education?
Oh, 100%. Like, there's people who are on $200,000 salaries, but yet they have $12 million in their bank a year. Where's that coming from?
We're talking
Like
about
what the US.
teachers now at the moment.
No, no, no. I'm talking about the people who work in government for these departments.
Oh, so kind of like congressmen and
Yes.
senators.
Yes.
Well, I mean, like that's because of insider trading. That's nothing to do with like like I mean, like that is corruption. That do not get me wrong, but that's not like necessarily like because the Department of Education is getting a fuck ton of funding. That's a good thing. The bad thing is that there's insider trading going on. Is that like Congress people and senators are allowed to buy stocks. But what happens is if you are a congressman or if you are a senator and you're writing and passing bills that like that affect all of these various kind of businesses and stuff like that, therefore allow their like them to like if you give them tax cuts, if you lower kind of regulations on like fucking oil dumping or like something of that effect, that then in turn allows their profits to go up. But then if you invest in that company and their profits go up, that means that their stock prices go up. So if you know that you're about to sign a bill into law, right? You haven't done it yet, but you're about to. There is nothing stopping a congressman from investing in the company that is going to now benefit from the bill you are about to pass. And when it does pass and when their stock prices go up, they then sell them at a profit so that they then make money off of that. That's the insider trading. That's the bad thing. That's the corruption. There's nothing to say that just simply because the Department of Education is getting funding that makes it corrupt.
So you think it's okay for them to get loads and loads of funding?
Yeah, absolutely.
What? Mm-mm. Cut them out completely. Get rid of them.
But I
Completely.
mean, like why? I mean, like, what's the argument against it?
So, like, for example, like the Department of Transport here in Ireland does absolutely nothing. And there's a bunch of government spending being sent to them, a bunch of government funding, but yet they do nothing. So get rid of them and bring in private companies to do it instead, where we'll actually get something out of it. And lower the taxes in turn because there's so much government wastage. I was looking up here the statistics on what like the guy in Argentina has done, right? And it says here he reduced real public spending by 30%, leading to a primary fiscal surplus of 0.3% of GDP in January 2024. And it was the first time in over a decade that happened. Like they're nearly out of national debt because he just cut out all of this government funding to all these different departments, and it there's a change in the country's GDP. Like in Ireland, we see it. We're constantly in debt. They said they're going to spend this on a metro and all of this type of money. It's all wastage, and that's what Aintu was pushing for as well, to cut out government wastage. Why would you push for more money to go to these departments when they're doing nothing with the money?
Well,
They're swindling.
Well, yeah, well, I mean, like, I definitely wouldn't say that they're not doing anything with the money. Whether they're being productive with it or not, that's a totally separate conversation. But, I mean, oh God, I just don't think that kind of putting it in the hands of a for-profit company, therefore, that would what was that is what would happen if you then privatized it, right? Putting it in the hands of like a for-profit company, I just don't think that that's like necessarily like the way to go, because like if there's a profit incentive for it, then like that's what they're gonna do. If you have a private company that has shareholders, that has stockholders, that has all of these sorts of things, your incentive is not going to be to provide the best policy, the best quality and best possibility of kind of transportation or of education or of all of these sorts of things. Your number one priority is going to be to make profit. So anything that is regarding public education, public transport, like any of these sorts of public programs, they should absolutely not be privatized, because you're not going to get the best possible results out of it. You're going to get the best possible profits out of it, but not the best results.
I disagree with that, because anytime I go private with anything, it's so much better. So, like, if I take the public bus, it's slow and it's dirty and it's out of date. Or if I take the Matthews bus, which I don't know if you have that, that's the private coach. Yes, it's more expensive, but it's nicer. But if there's more money going into my pocket because I'm not paying a bunch of taxes for the crappy public stuff, I have the money to hop on the private one.
Yeah, but if they were to get rid of the public option, right? So if they were to get rid of the kind of public buses and all of these sorts of things, then like, what's to stop the private company from saying, well, there's basically no fucking competition. We're kind of pretty much a monopoly now. So what's to stop them from doubling their prices? And if you don't like it, well, you don't have an alternative. So either pay twice the price or walk. What's to stop them from doing that?
It's a good point.
Because I mean, if you say kind of government regulation over it, then that's not small government, which is what you would be in favor of.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Like, I'm trying to think. I think this kind of is like what anarcho-capitalism is, and I like it, but I don't know enough about it to kind of answer your question. If you could help me answer my question, if you know anything about anarcho-capitalism. But I do like the whole idea of like government regulations, but it's not owned by the government, but it's still an incentive. They're still making a profit, and it's still an incentive then for people to use it. Everybody's making money then.
Yeah, I understand that everybody is making money, but I mean, like, if
Companies are inclined to provide good quality care and good quality services because they know people depend on it, and they know people are giving them the money. Like, if they're not providing, another company can just open up then. Because your point there about, oh, we can just double the prices,
mm-hmm.
well then, there's a bunch of people walking, right? So let's say an average Joe, sees everyone walking and decides to open up his own private coach business, and I'm charging half the price, and I'm still making profit.
Yeah, but I mean, at the current moment, you have like either some privatized transport or you have public transport. So, like, even if it was to eventually kind of go to what you were talking about, for like somebody to see an opening for competition in the market, like even initially, even if, because I mean, like again, kind of going back to the whole kind of manufacturing plant, that shit doesn't happen just overnight, right? There is a massive and unfathomable amount of capital that you need to raise and therefore then invest in buying coaches, buying buses, buying all of these things, training the drivers, hiring them, all of these sorts of things. You're probably yeah, again, about kind of 2 years away from being kind of fully operational and fully kind of up and running. The problem that I then have is that for those 2 years, you then have one company charging whatever the fuck they like. Sure, they're possibly going to see the incoming competition, but until they're like a real threat to them, they're going to continue charging whatever the hell they want.
I don't know, like, was it like that with airlines? Because there's no public airlines, right? But there's airlines that are cheaper, there's airlines that are more expensive.
Yeah,
Was it like that with
because there's more than one or two. There's quite substantially north of one or two airlines, so they're all in competition with each other. So if one major airline, if major airline A sees major airline B charging an awful lot less for their flights, then major airline A is going to be incentivized to either go cheaper or to at least price match. But if you don't have that competition, if you are the only company, if there was only one major airline running, they could charge literally whatever the hell they wanted, because, well, it's either you go with us or you don't go. It's not. It's worse than the transport option. It's worse than like a public bus, because with the bus you can either pay it or walk. With an airline, you either pay it or you don't go.
That's a good point.
So just to kind of if Ryanair was to somehow buy up literally every single other airline company, they could do that, and they could then charge whatever the fuck they wanted to, whatever they wanted to. So
yeah. Like, what was that guy, Martin Shkreli or something like that? Was that his name? Who bought all of the bought the rights to the HIV pill or something like that, and it's charged like, I think it was like $1,000 or something for a pill.
Yeah. But I mean, like, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Is that if you buy the rights to these like kind of privatized thing, you can charge whatever you want.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but I feel like there's definitely like an answer for that I don't know. But
Sure it is. It's socialism. It's getting rid of capitalism. That's what it is. It's putting the power back in the hands of people. It's like doing away or like effectively kind of crippling private companies from doing the likes of charging whatever the fuck they want for those sorts of things. Like that guy under socialism would never be allowed to privatize, to own the patents, to own the rights to the HIV pill. Like, that would just be publicly available.
I asked ChatGPT, is socialism possible? And it said it's not possible. It's not possible, it said.
Okay.
And then I watched a video about it as well, and it said it's not possible, like, it cannot be done.
I mean, like, oh God. I'm going to kind of say this in the nicest possible way that I possibly can. I don't care what ChatGPT says. Like, I really don't. It's made by a company under capitalism that has its algorithms kind of written for it, that like was made by somebody, that was made by a capitalistic company. So I mean, like you could it's not even necessarily like, it's not a conspiracy theory at all. I mean, you could literally say that it has kind of certain things kind of baked into it to like argue against these like sorts of things. But also, so you can trick the likes of these kind of ChatGPT or Gemini is what I have, because I have a Samsung phone and that comes kind of with it, whatever else, right? It's like its own kind of AI thing, version of and I mean, like I have literally gotten an argument like for and against a certain premise, because I mean, like, these things are just not advanced enough yet to be able to kind of like intelligently argue in the way that you and I are right now.
Yeah. Well, see, the argument I asked it to present to me was one from another video. I can't remember the name of the argument. You probably know the name of the argument. Do you know any arguments against socialism that say that it's impossible? There was like a name to it, something economic problem or something.
I mean, like, look at, like, I definitely know, I definitely know kind of like an awful lot of kind of arguments against it, like not one that's like necessarily like titled in the sense of like this is literally like it's not titled that it, it is not possible or anything else, like it's not titled as that, but I mean, like, yeah, like I've heard an awful lot of arguments against socialism, sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm still just kind of half and half on socialism. Someone made a good point that would you say Jesus Christ was a socialist? Um, and that got me thinking.
I mean, you could argue that he was. You could very easily argue that he was.
How the early church acted was quite kind of socialist. Like they gathered all of their stuff together, all their money, all their belongings, and just gave it out for free. And that was it. Does that
Yeah,
sound
I
like
mean, like,
socialism?
look at like I firmly believe that if the character depicted in the Bible of Jesus Christ was to come back today, he would be absolutely appalled at the state of the Catholic Church today.
At the Catholic Church?
At the
Why?
Catholic Church, absolutely. The Vatican is its own fucking country. It's worth like how many billions? Jesus hated, despised rich people. Absolutely despised them.
I think Jesus would have a heart attack looking at Protestantism. Protestantism is much worse than Catholicism.
Well,
The state of Protestantism is so bad, like it's pushing me to become Catholic. It's so bad. Like you think the Vatican's rich? These Protestant preachers, the fake Protestant preachers and the charismatics and stuff that are swindling and scamming people are worth millions. Like Nigeria is riddled with it. Like one of the most richest people in Nigeria is a pastor.
mm-hmm.
I think he'd be, and then all of the division and the heresy and this the abuse on both sides, Catholicism and Protestantism, like that type of abuse, mental abuse, physical abuse. Well, I think, yeah, like he would have his cruxes definitely with the Catholic Church, but I think with Protestantism is where he would really have his issues.
Um, yeah, I mean, like, look, like, I'm not necessarily going to kind of argue against that. I mean, I had literally just kind of said, the Catholic Church just as kind of like one example, just because I mean, like, Ireland is kind of mainly Catholic and blah 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 blah, right? So that's kind of fair enough. But yeah, I mean, like, if like he was just to kind of look at the state of kind of organized religion, and this is like as like a completely and utterly like broad whole, it's every kind of sect. Yeah, I think he would be absolutely appalled at it. The like
And what's
level of wealth. I mean, like any of these kind of like literally mega churches, right? You mainly kind of see them more so over in the States, but there are a few kind of around the world. I think that he would be absolutely appalled by them.
I'm actually in the midst of building a massive project where I'm exposing all of these mega church pastors in Ireland, these cult leaders, and how
Yeah.
much money they're like. It is pretty bad. But the thing is, like, it's a weird one because the church needs money, of course, to run, right? You know, God commands his people in like Haggai and like the Old Testament to build a temple and to give everything to build his temple. And that's fine. I genuinely don't think that's bad. I don't think like the way the Vatican is bad. Why would that be bad if God has commanded it? Like it's his temple.
I just think that the Vatican being its own country, with its own laws, the amount of wealth that is stored and that is hoarded within the Vatican itself, I just think that's absolutely kind of shameful.
But they use it to fund parishes and missionary projects and to run the Vatican and the church.
I mean, that is absolutely true. That is absolutely true. But oh, I mean, like you could also kind of argue that that stuff was kind of used in the past to kind of cover up an awful lot of kind of scandals shall
Yeah,
we
I would agree.
say, you know the scandals I'm talking, you know the scandals I'm talking about, that happen in the kind of Catholic Church here and stuff like that. So I mean, like, look at, like, yeah, I understand that that money is being used to kind of fund all of the churches and stuff like that. Like, but I mean, like, given that it's been used to do the, like, those sorts of things, you know, Jesus is no dummy. He would already kind of know about that, presumably before he came back. So, like, I just don't, like, even kind of counting that in, I don't think that he would be too impressed by that.
Of course, and that's the role of the church is to hold those people accountable. Like, that's what Luther went and you know proposed, that the church was corrupted with the indulgences, and they held a council and they condemned those actions that people were being corrupt within the church and taking money to get into heaven and these type of things and paying your way out of sin. Like, that's wrong, and the church holds those people accountable for that. But we can't just equivocate. Like, it kind of becomes a fallacy then, like, oh, I don't think you're trying to say, oh, like Catholicism is bad because that stuff happens, but some people do. And Jesus would come back and hold the people who have done the action accountable, and the church. But if they're doing their job in holding those people accountable, then Jesus can't really condemn them because they've done their part where they've called out the corruption. I don't know
Yeah,
what's going on behind the walls, but I'm gonna have to argue and say, of course they're gonna use the money to fund the churches, to fund their country. You know what I mean? They don't have papal jurisdiction anymore, so they can't really do whatever they want with it.
yeah, that's that's true. Yeah, no, look, I mean, like, my kind of main point was just that, like, I just think that if like Jesus was to look at kind of organized religion now, that he would just be appalled. Um, but yeah, yeah, we kind of started on fucking Elon and somehow wound up at religion again. I mean, like, yeah, it's just what happens. I'm not necessarily kind of saying it's a bad thing or anything else, but yeah, I like, so okay, so like, what has like Trump done now that it's literally the 20th? He's had a full month in. I mean, like, what do you kind of think that he has done that like you would agree with?
And you probably won't like this one, but the whole abolishing of the transgender ideology, I would agree with that. I think the way he done it was good.
Well, I mean, he hasn't abolished the transgender ideology. That's impossible. Like, nobody can do that. He's banned them from the military, sure, but I mean, like, he's not. I mean, like, getting rid of an
And
ideology is impossible.
I what I meant by that is like he no longer has government law that's promoting it. Let's say, so like if someone had their name change and their sex change on their ID, I'm pretty sure it's changed back now, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, so I agree with that. It's no longer endorsing the ideology. So the goal is to, and don't misquote me on this, eradicate the ideology. That is the goal. Not the people, the ideology.
But
Eventually, we want it to just die out. That's the goal of a conservative, is for the ideology, the thought process of it even, is to just die out.
I mean, like, how can you even, like, how can you get out? So okay, so like, I don't think that trans people are an ideology. I just don't really kind of see how they fit into that particular box. But even if, just for the sake of argument, they do, like, I mean, like, how do you go about kind of getting rid of it?
Well, through
Uh,
education.
before you start, because I know that Michael Knowles did the fucking Jubilee thing. I swear to Christ, if you parrot one of his arguments, I may lose my shit. But anyway, sorry. Yes, yeah, yeah. Go on.
Probably like just through education, like the goal is we want these people, right? We don't want them to be excluded and ostracized from society. We want them to realize that their way of thinking is wrong, right? Because obviously on the conservative side, we believe it's a delusion. We don't believe that they actually believe this, right? That they're disillusioned and confused. So we want them to see that, okay, I'm actually not the opposite sex. I actually am this sex. You know what I mean?
Well,
There's a way of doing it. You know, we don't want to do this like a totalitarian iron fist, you know, put on men's clothes or else type of thing, right? But a way of it not be, we can't tolerate it either.
okay, but I mean, like, would you be kind of talking about like education just kind of in general, or I mean, are you talking about like conversion therapy? Are you talking about something else that's not really? I just want to like. I understand, like, at a base level what you're kind of saying and what you're kind of talking about. I just want to almost kind of like pin it down and kind of get like an idea of exactly what you're.
Um, See, I don't know much about this whole conversion therapy thing, right? I've heard in conversion therapy, some homosexual people are brought there and they're made to watch like indecent images and videos. That's no, that's not going to work,
I
right?
mean,
The
like
Bible literally.
that's probably like the most charitable version of it that you can present. I mean, like, we're like probably the worst is like shock therapy. That's not,
That's
yeah.
not.
So I mean, like it, and look, I mean, like, even after, as if that's not already kind of bad enough, which it absolutely is. But even after that, I mean, like, the success rate of conversion therapy is like zero. Like, it just doesn't work.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't endorse any of that. I would have to go biblical there and say, you know, you can't cast out demons with demons, right?
All right. Okay.
Um, but I have heard anecdotes, so I don't know anything about statistics here, but I've heard anecdotes of, you know, trans people being just true church therapy. True church have been delivered. Obviously, for me, I would believe that this is a demonic influence. Um, Now, it's not demons being exorcised out of them, but through the grace of God have been transformed in their thinking and realized that, you know, their way of thinking was wrong, and eventually they come to Christ. But obviously we can't implement that governmentally here. So I would just say it's like removing it from the education sector, and the fact that they don't promote it anymore and say it's okay, but they speak of it as an ideology and a thing that, okay, if you get these thoughts, you know, it's okay to have the thoughts, but that doesn't mean you have to act on them. Your identity doesn't have to be built upon your sexual attraction. Your identity doesn't have to be built upon your gender dysphoria. You can sort those issues out on the side and realize that it's not your whole identity anymore. Because we do see, right, and I'm sorry to quote Michael Knowles, like the same stuff he quotes, but like how it's nearly a social influence. The more it's happening, the more people are inclined to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Of trans people, the amount of them wasn't the same, you know, 50 years ago, 100 years ago.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that is absolutely true. I mean, like, it's not necessarily that, you know, I mean, like, there was no such thing, we'll say, as kind of trans people until kind of 150 years ago, because I mean, like, that would be equally wrong to say. But yeah, I would just kind of say though that, you know, like, the amount of kind of left-handed people fucking skyrocketed at a certain point in history, because we said that, like, there's nothing wrong with being left-handed. And as a lefty myself, not only in my politics but also the hand that I write with, I can personally say there's no demons in me. There's nothing fucking wrong with me. It doesn't make me less of a human just because I write with my right hand, with the left hand. But in the same way as, like, the whole kind of controversy or the whole kind of otherism around people being left-handed, as, like, in the same way as that was kind of done away with, in the same way now as we have kind of come to, like, you know, broadly accept trans people, now you have an awful lot more people kind of coming forward. And it wasn't just kind of lefties to just kind of trans people. It was lefties to kind of, you know, gay or bi people, and now to kind of trans people. So yeah, I mean, like, it's not as if like there's like a massive spike because this is now just being taught and it's been indoctrinated into people. It's just because it's more socially acceptable. People are afraid of being hated on. People are afraid of being abused in the streets. People are afraid of all of these things. But if they see the kind of social swing happening towards acceptance, then they feel a little bit more kind of comfortable coming out.
I don't know. I feel like it's just a consequence of the fall. People are just becoming more and more inclined and further away from God to think that these things are normal, you know, and it's because of their fallen nature, in my opinion. You know what I mean? We're just these type of ideas are just going to keep on getting worse. Like marijuana will eventually be legalized, and it will be coke and heroin, and we already have spoken on the abortion issue, and then it's transgenderism, and it's all of these ideologies that supposedly were hidden away, and now people are more inclined and can open and be doing all of these things, but no one's getting happier. You know, so I
I
don't know,
mean, I
man.
would argue that the trans people are getting happier now that they can
I
like
think
fully kind of be themselves, and they can kind of, you know.
I think the statistics show differently. And,
You
and, and
you think
before
that
I knew about Michael Knowles and Matt Walsh and all those guys, I was debating this issue back in like 2017, 2018 in school, and they were trying to push it really on us. And I used to stand up and say, no, like, the schmuicide rates amongst trans people post op is still just as big as before op. And then people say, oh, but they're being hated on, da 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 da, and, they're being abused. But, like, I just don't feel that's true anymore, especially in Western society.
I mean, like, look, I definitely don't think that it's as high as it was like pre-op, or yeah, pre-op. But I mean, like, yeah, like an awful lot of that rate can be attributed to the like kind of non-acceptance or kind of social disillusion or social exclusion or any like all of these sorts of things. Like I absolutely think, yeah, that it can just not.
But how come Christians aren't offing themselves?
because because Christians are still widely accepted within society.
I would say different, like a conservative Christian like myself. I'd say we face quite a lot of scrutiny and like like I've seen people just like say I cannot be friends with you anymore. Like the same thing as you could say that's happening with trans people, right? But why don't we see the rate of conservative Christians schmooshide rate going up?
I mean, like, as like a direct answer to that question, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't think that they are, just because I don't think that it's like, yes, look, are you going to possibly kind of, lose some kind of friendship groups and stuff like that, like, if you kind of share certain opinions or certain stances online and all this sort of stuff, like, is it possible that you lose friend groups over that? Yeah, sure, but I mean, like, I just don't think that
I'm
it's
thrown in jail
okay. Well,
in the
I
UK.
mean, sorry.
In the UK and America, they're getting thrown in jail as well. Don't forget that.
Who are getting thrown in jail?
Christians, have you not heard?
What is it, like, simply just because they are Christian?
No, for like praying outside of abortion clinics and stuff like that.
Well, look, you can argue that they're kind of. You can argue that they are disturbing the peace, or that they're kind of creating a scene, or they're like doing all that sort of stuff. Like not necessarily that. I don't
I
want to
would say a
just
man,
dismiss
a
that,
woman.
but sorry.
I would say a man dressing as a woman is disturbing the peace.
How? Why?
Well, like if we go along that same line, right, that Christians are disturbing the peace if they pray outside of an abortion clinic, I would say a man dressing as a woman walking down Main Street, and let's say there's 100 Christians on that street, and they have to witness that, that's disturbing the peace.
Right, but I mean, like, what if you don't know that they're trans?
I'm just saying, like, let's say it was like someone like me just with a wig on, but I call myself trans. So someone who's very early socially transitioning.
Right, but I mean, I just don't necessarily think that they're kind of disturbing the peace like in the same way. You could maybe kind of argue that they are, but you know, the likelihood that like a trans person is kind of going up to them and are like shouting abuse at them, or are kind of like trying to kind of stop them from going into the abortion clinic, or from like all of these sort of things, I just don't think necessarily that like a trans person would like do that even if they were faced with a group of like 100 Christians, mainly because they're outnumbered, but also, and like this is kind of backtracking a little bit, if you're standing outside of an abortion clinic and you attempt to put your hand on someone to stop them from going in, that's classified as an assault. So
that's not though.
They're
silently praying.
But you have to agree that like even if it's not the majority of them, an awful lot of them are trying to stop them from going in. And in those cases, if you put your hands on someone, that is assault. And I mean, I'm sorry, do I feel sorry for you if you get arrested for that? No, not at all. Like,
I would agree with that.
If somebody was arrested simply because they weren't doing anything, they were just a Christian, that was their crime, I don't agree with that. Not at all. Not in any way, shape, or form. But the point is that like that's not happening. Nobody is getting arrested simply just because they are Christian, not because they were just walking down like on the street minding their own business, not even talking to anyone, not doing anything. They were just being a Christian, and that's why they were arrested. That's not happening. But it's kind of getting to the point, especially in Trump's America, where that could happen if you are trans. It's not yet, but you know, it's not exactly a very favorable path that they're going down.
I'm not even trying to make this about religion again. I was only using the example of the Christians who have been arrested for silently praying outside of abortion clinics. And like, obviously, yeah, we know there's Christians that are being persecuted in like Eastern Europe and stuff. That's a whole different story, right? But in Western society, Christians are being arrested outside of abortion clinics for praying silently, whereas we could say then that a transgender person walking down the street is disturbing the peace for us. Why are they not getting arrested, right? Let's say I'm a woman, I want to go and abort my baby, and I see someone praying silently outside, and I say, oh, that's disturbing the peace, and they get arrested. Is that not the same thing as a Christian turning around and saying that a transgender person walking around is disturbing my peace, they should be arrested?
I mean, like, possibly yes, but I mean, like, if somebody is literally just praying and they're not talking, they're not impeding their path, they're not trying to stop them from going into an abortion clinic, I don't necessarily think that they should be arrested either. And like, we are talking strictly under those conditions. If they are literally not doing a single thing to stop them or to try and persuade them or anything else like that from going in, I don't agree with them being arrested. It's the moment that they do try and stop them from going in, that's when I agree with it.
Can they speak to them? So let's say I'm standing outside of an abortion clinic and I ask someone, sorry, can I talk to you, and try to speak to them to not do it. Is that wrong?
Look, I mean, like, even though we kind of talked about this in the last live, I mean, like, you would kind of be under the opinion that like we all have free will. So I mean, like, would you not be impeding on their free will to go in and to go to an abortion clinic?
Impeding
Like,
definitely not.
because, yes, because if you were to stand outside of them and talk to them, I mean, it would obviously be your, like, goal for them not to walk in after you start talking to them. So would you not be impeding their free will?
Definitely not. Something has already influenced their will to go and carry out an abortion, anyways. So, like, we don't really have full free will. As I said the last time, our will is influenced by something. It's either by God's grace or by the will of the flesh or Satan or, like good or evil. So, like, if someone's already on the way to carry out an abortion, I would say they've been influenced by the things of the world, by darkness. And if I came along and tried to influence them to not, they're still choosing freely.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, maybe. I would just kind of say that, like, yeah, I guess just kind of like trying to kind of stop somebody from doing something that they've already decided that that's what they're wanting to do. I mean, like, even if, like, the most kind of charitable case that you could possibly kind of put to that is that, like, oh, well, you think it's wrong, so they'll have to live with their consequences and all this, blah, 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 blah. I mean, like, should that not be kind of, we'll say, kind of good enough for you? I mean, like, why do you, like, feel like you would have to kind of try and stop them from going in?
Well, I don't want to get into the abortion debate, but I could try and persuade them to not murder another human being. I'm sure if I said to you, Stephen, I want to carry out a mass shooting, you're going to try and convince me to not carry out the mass shooting. Or are you going to say, oh, I don't want to impede on your free will, Rob. Go ahead and, shoot up the school.
Well, no, I would definitely try and persuade you not to do that. But yeah, look, look, just to kind of get back to kind of trans people as like a whole, yeah, I mean, like, look at, like, okay, just so we kind of understand kind of where we're kind of coming from. Like, do you recognize the distinction between sex and gender?
Do I recognize the distinction between sex and gender? Um, I don't like. It's a bit of a tough one, right? Because I know there's cases where people are born without genitalia and stuff like that, right? And they have to present themselves as something. Now, usually they're kind of more inclined to one side or the other, but they kind of have to choose to present themselves, and that would be maybe like the social gender norm, right? Like, I present myself very masculine, but I would say that's inclined because of my sex, right? So I'd say your sex will influence your gender role. So yeah, I would say there's a distinction between the two. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So if we agree then that you cannot, like, kind of, like, down to the DNA kind of level, you cannot change your sex, you can't change your chromosomes. If we're in agreement there, why can somebody not change their gender?
Because their gender is still bound to their sex.
Well, no, because we've just agreed that they're two different things.
But your gender can only be influenced by your sex, is what I would say.
Well, no, I mean, like, your gender is just your outward expression of, like, kind of who and what you are.
You could say at a biological level, my sex is male, which inclines my gender to be a man.
Well, yeah, it inclines it to. It doesn't dictate that it has to be.
Well, I would change my wording and say it dictates.
But then you're basically saying that sex and gender are the same thing.
No, because I said the distinction is that your sex is the biological level, and then your gender is the outward expression of it.
But yeah, it's the sociological level of it.
Yes, yeah, I would just say it's like kind of semantics, really. It's like gender is sociological, and then sex is just biological.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. But you would agree that society changes, correct?
It does change. Not that
Right.
I
So
agree.
then why can your sociological expression not change?
Because, as I said, I would say your sex dictates what gender you're going to be. So your gender can never be male,
But
but
it's
your sex can never be man.
but I mean, like, it's not even necessary that we're talking past each other. It's kind of like you're saying two different things at the same time, because you've agreed that sex and gender are two different things. You've agreed that gender is purely sociological. You've agreed that society changes, but it's just like the one kind of stumbling block is that your sociological expression of your gender can't change. Like, all of these other things can change, but just not your sociological expression. But why not? The two are different, as we've agreed. You can't change your kind of biological sex, but well, I mean, like, so then you should be able to, because that's the only one that is like absolutely like concrete, that's sealed in. But your gender is not sealed in, because your gender expression, I mean, like, if you kind of go for the more kind of like, I don't even necessarily like saying this, but the more kind of, we'll say, kind of flamboyant gay man might kind of dress in a sense that might not be kind of strictly masculine, as in they like might not be seen walking on the street in a fucking cargo pants and a denim jacket, but they like might be kind of seen dressed in clothing that like might be kind of, you know, seen as being more kind of feminine. So if you can change something like that, then why not just change it just a little bit more and like change something else about yourself?
You could say it's a performance, but it doesn't mean that it's transitioned that person's gender in that moment.
That would be true, yeah, because I mean, if we're just talking about kind of gay men, but I mean, when we're not talking about gay men and when we are talking about trans women, like, they would just be basically kind of going like one or two steps further along the kind of sociological change there, then, no?
Say it's like a never-ending performance
It's a
of the
never
wrong
ending
gender.
performance. Oh, okay.
I haven't really ever got to really speak with trans people on this issue. I'm trying to
Yeah,
think
I
if I
would.
ever.
I mean, like, look, it was something that I had also kind of said to Luca, who was in my YouTube live chat earlier and who's been on the live a few times. Like, I would just kind of like absolutely just kind of encourage you to speak to somebody who is trans, because like, look at, like, I can tell you my understanding as someone who is friends with people who are trans, and just in kind of general conversation, kind of getting an understanding of what they are going through, or their kind of gender expression, or like how they kind of came to terms with the fact that they are trans. But I'm only kind of giving you like secondhand information. So I mean, like, yeah, no, I mean, like, definitely kind of going to the source about it, like, and just kind of speaking to them, you know, like it would just be, but like, in the sense that I wouldn't kind of say that, like, go to them and kind of like, but like, talk to them. Don't necessarily kind
Oh,
of, you know what I mean, go in with like an argumentative thing, and like, even if like you just kind of get their kind of side of it and then part ways and never speak again, fair, fine, you know, at least
yeah.
you've kind of had that kind of conversation, you know. That's the, yeah, I mean, like, that's all I would just kind of say.
Yeah, oh no, definitely. Like, like even biblically, Paul spoke with Gentiles. And he says he was a Gentile to the Gentiles. So, he wasn't going in and saying, "Oh, you need to just believe in Jesus," and decimating them in debates. Like, these are people who knew nothing about even Judaism at the time. So like, we are called to go and just talk with people. Like, I'm not gonna do that. I've spoke with a lot of homosexuals. I even find it weird when I just say homosexuals, like gay people.
But
I've
yeah,
spoken with a
yeah,
lot of
yeah.
um, when I've been at evangelizing and stuff like that, and it's really good to hear their side of things. You know what I mean? And I'm not there to tell you, okay, yeah, you weren't born this way. It's not your way of thinking, stuff like that. Because I was in that position once, and I'm not, out like that. But yeah, so definitely, I think, yeah, what you're saying, I do want to go and I don't know where to. I can't just go to the transgender building and start talking to them. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
if I
yeah, yeah. No, I know what you mean. I mean, like, look at, like, I would definitely kind of take it like a bit like 10 steps, maybe kind of further. I mean, like, I'm a gender abolitionist. I just think that we should just do away with kind of gender roles, just kind of just in general. Just like just get rid of them. You know, I mean, like there is nothing. So okay, so basically, what I kind of mean by that, right, is that like there is like nothing, like there is nowhere, absolutely nowhere in the DNA code will you find that women are better at, you know, being like homemakers and men are better at going out and working on the fucking railroads all the live long day, right? Nowhere in the DNA code will you find that. That is purely sociologically driven. Purely sociologically driven.
Men are stronger.
By and large, men are stronger, yes, but that's not to say that a woman can't like do any of these sorts of jobs that a man can do. Now, you can say, well, would a man be maybe more kind of efficient in doing certain jobs? You can possibly make that argument quite successfully, even. But that doesn't necessarily stop a woman from being able or from being entitled to go into any of these sorts of sectors or do any sorts of jobs. And I mean, there is like nothing to say that a man can't, you know, fucking stay at home and raise the kids and keep a house. There is nothing nothing in the DNA code that says that a man is not able to do that. So like that would be my kind of. It's just because it's not in the kind of DNA code and this stuff is all kind of sociologically driven that like it's just, yeah, I don't know.
Laughing because my wife is in the kitchen cooking right now.
But yeah, but like again, there is nothing to say that you couldn't be cooking. Obviously you're on live right now, so you can't do two things at once, but if you weren't, there is nothing to say that you couldn't do that job. Do you know what I mean?
Me personally couldn't do that job, bro. Oh gosh, I think I can only make like beans on toast. That's about it. So.
I mean, like, look at, but well, look, okay, so in a different kind of, not necessarily in a different argument, then, but like, I personally love cooking. I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. You know, when me and my girlfriend are living together, like we've kind of basically said like that we're going to kind of divide up kind of like house chores and kind of cooking responsibilities kind of pretty much 50-50, right?
Yeah.
So technically speaking, and from a certain point of view, maybe it's your point of view, I'm not going to give it to you, I'll give you the opportunity to kind of say otherwise, but you could argue that I'm not falling into the kind of preferred gender stereotype.
See, I don't know all the roles you carry out, right? Because like, I kind of would agree in the sense like, yeah, we do split up the chores here in my house. Um, but the difference would be is who is the head of the household? Let's say when you and your girlfriend are living together, who's the head of the household?
I mean, I just don't necessarily think that there's going to be a head of the household. It's not necessarily that like I'm in charge or she's in charge. It's like that like we're both two grown adults who are living in a house together. We just happen to be in a relationship. Like I'm living with like one of my best friends right now, right? So like I'm renting this house. He's renting one of the other rooms. There is not one of us who is in charge. Now, you could maybe say that that's a bad argument because we're both guys. There was a woman living here before he moved in. I wasn't the head of the household.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it was me and a woman living here under the same roof. I was not the head of the household. So I mean, like that's kind of bit. Now you can say that that's a little bit different because it's not like that. Like you know, the house is in my name or her name or both, that we're both just kind of renting a room. But I mean, essentially, that's how my future household with my girlfriend is going to run. Like it's going to be as if we are still renting, that there is not one kind of head of the household. There are an awful lot of responsibilities to do with the house, and it's both mine and her responsibility to do those jobs.
Yeah, see, I would differ. I would say like a man should be the head of the household. So like my word is final in here, you know. And it's not like a iron fist, like do as I say, make food, get in bed, you know. but it's like there's a level of submission to me, but like also respect. Like she's submitting to me because she trusts me. Do you know what I mean? Um, and I'm the provider. There's actually a lot of responsibility on me. And yeah, like she has freedom or whatever. But if she came to me tomorrow and said, "Oh, babe, can I go and buy a new laptop?" and I turn around and say no, that's it. It's final. I'm the priest of my household. You know.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, listen, like, we're just gonna have just a complete another just kind of um difference of opinion when it kind of comes to that sort of stuff. Um, yeah, it's I
And I
mean,
feel
like,
like anecdotally, when I've seen, like, before I was a Christian and I've kind of done the 50-50 thing, the woman tends to wear the pants more than the man then, and the man, like I was kind of like a little cook and I was being bullied around by the girl, you know what I mean? And I notice when you give the woman too much kind of power and leeway like that, they don't really feel like they need you then. It's not that you want them to depend on you, but it's like women can live on their own just as easily, like they're independent beings.
mm-hmm.
But the relationship between a man and a woman should be that the woman wants to rule over the man, but she controls herself in the sense that she says, okay, no, I need to submit unto somebody, and that somebody is my husband. Because I believe that in the DNA of a woman, she wants to rule over men.
But
She wants to be.
where is that found in the DNA code?
I don't know. That I have to research that. I don't know because I'm quoting. Quoting biblical literature, so I haven't found it in the DNA code. But obviously, I believe that God's words is objective truth. And if He said that women will want to rule over men, and that I've seen it anecdotally, I would say, yeah, I'd say it does happen.
But okay, so here's maybe kind of like one of the more important questions that I can kind of ask you, right? So you believe that because it's in the Bible that it says X, right? If you do your investigations and you find out that no, that it is actually Y, will you change your mind on your kind of preconception, or will you kind of find contradictory data and say, well, no, Bible?
It's a bit of a tough one because it mightn't be in the DNA. It could be just a thing of the soul or the fallen nature, right? Maybe it was bad to maybe use the word DNA there. Yeah, maybe it was bad to use the word DNA. But if I found studies show that women actually don't want to rule over men and it's in the DNA code, well then yeah, I guess I'm gonna have to change my thinking. But that's a hypothetical check. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, it's a hypothetical kind of until you kind of look into it. But oh God, yeah, I don't know what to. Yeah, it's not that I don't like necessarily know what to say to that, because I absolutely do. But you had said before we had gone live that you were wanting to kind of cut this off at 9. It's now 10 past. I don't know how kind of strict you were on that kind of time. If you do have to go, it's totally fine. I'll kind of continue on the kind of like TikTok live, whatever else. But yeah, it's up to I'll like
to I definitely do have to wrap up now. But I would love to do this again. I feel
Yeah.
like if I done more research, anthropology and stuff like that, I think we could do another discussion on like this type of stuff. I find this really interesting.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, look, I mean, like, I go live kind of, a few times a week on TikTok. So I mean, like, if you do kind of want to, and like maybe kind of not kind of organizing it in the same way as like this was, if you just see me live and want to fucking pop up, 100% just do,
Yeah.
But yeah, no, look at yeah. Genuinely, to everybody who is in my TikTok and YouTube audience, I know that well, definitely my kind of YouTube audience, not an awful lot of you agreed with them, because I have been kind of scrolling through the comments, or I've had glances, whatever else. I do want to thank Rob anyway for kind of coming on, because like, look at, you know, it is kind of what it is and whatever else. But yeah, no, look, it definitely was kind of quite the conversation, as somebody in my YouTube chat has literally just said. It wasn't necessarily like, it was almost the exact same as the last time. Nobody shouted at each other, nobody kind of necessarily talked over. These are the kind of conversations that I absolutely love. So yeah, definitely big thank you to Rob for coming on. I'm going to do a shameless plug. I'm Stephen Ryan Podcast on YouTube. I am about 9 subs away from 1,000. If somebody could possibly go over to my YouTube, get me to 1,000, I love you big time. So yeah, anyway.
I really appreciate
yeah. You too, man.
Really
you too.
And shout out to all of your audience watching and everything, you know. You really do give me a lot of food for thought, you know, and I don't think you probably expected me to come on and not defend Trump as much as,
well,
as you probably, you know.
No,
so,
well,
be a socialist. So.
Look, that's the goal anyway. All right, that's the goal. But look, anyway, yeah, man. Look, definitely kind of take care. We will talk to you soon, and yeah, best of luck with absolutely everything. All right, man.
Thank you so much. Have a good one. God bless.
You too, man. Okay, so I'm going to very, very kind of quickly change over to where the fuck is my TikTok live? No, not even that. I'm going to quickly change over to that, and then we're going to go to there, and we're gonna go like that. Fill screen, boom, done. And now we're open for conversations. So I've changed the topic layout a little bit, but yeah, this is what we're kind of going to be going with for right now anyway. Oh, and YouTube, fuck TikTok. And we're up on YouTube. So if there is anybody who is over on YouTube, because I know there was a few people from Rob's stream that were there, if you want to pop over here and have an L conversation, I am going to go back to kind of fully bright. There we go. That's fucking wonderful. That looks a little bit better. Yeah, if anybody does want to pop up and have a disagreement, if you do have a disagreement or anything else like that, you know, pop up. We can have an L conversation. I'll bring that over there. I don't know, man. I'm going to be maybe live for another like hour or so. So if you do have a disagreement, any of these prompts, you can join. There's no problem. Perfect. Absolutely fantastic. Please do like. We're just under 400 likes. If you could please like the live, share it out. If anybody does disagree, well, then you can join and we can have a conversation, because that's what we're here for. We're here for conversations. Just like the one that we just had. Look at that's my second time. No, actually, sorry, no, that's my third time talking with Rob. And look, like, we don't agree on almost basically anything, right? Like, we genuinely don't. But I've just mad respect for Rob, because, you know, he's able to kind of come up and to have a conversation, not necessarily just a debate. And he wants to kind of, you know, be there for the conversation and for that and stuff like that. So yeah, I really like that. I am just going to adjust my camera angle just ever so slightly, so that I'm a little bit more, yeah, there we go, so I'm a little bit more over in the corner, just so that like the YouTube and that the TikTok audience can fully see. I don't know what the fuck that was, but I just got to I just had to verify, or I had to like verify something to keep the live going. That's never fucking happened before. But anyway, yeah, that was a little bit wild, but you know, here we are. We're here for it. So just to kind of catch up on, we don't actually have anybody in the YouTube live. but we do have, or sorry, in the TikTok live, but we do have some people in the not fucking hell, Jesus Christ, sorry, what am I saying? We don't have anybody in the TikTok live, not at the moment, but we do have a couple of YouTube comments that I do want to catch up on. So yeah, well, yeah, there was a good bit of debate there going back and forth between two people. Blaster, who is a new face on the channel, good to have you here. Savage, friend to the channel, absolutely delighted to see you. Savage says, okay, she's a couple of minutes behind, but I wanted to the just after my mom cooked dinner, but what just here, yeah, absolutely. That was just wow. Yeah, no, look, I mean, like, obviously, like, Rob does have, you know, Rob has some takes, right? He definitely has some takes. Not all of them that I agree with, obviously, but you know, it's definitely there. He definitely has some kind of some wild takes there, but he's a nice enough guy, right? He's a nice enough guy, and I do kind of like having conversations with him, just because, you know, it is always very or at least it has always been very respectful and stuff like that. So yeah, we do like talking with Rob. Blaster says he's super masculine yet the most insecure person in the room at all times. Yeah, I mean, like, that is definitely, look, I'm not gonna lie, that is definitely kind of how it at least kind of came across for me, at least in parts. There anybody in the TikTok live chat that were kind of saying anything? Let me have a quick look. Just a bunch of people joining. Tracy White with the fucking hot take. Turn Gaza into a resort. Yeah, we're going to strongly disagree with that. Yeah, no, it's just a bunch of people joining but not actually commenting, so that's a little bit sad, but there we go. Yeah, no, look, if there is anybody in the TikTok live chat that does disagree, pop up, we could have a conversation. Please do like, share it out, do all of that good stuff. It helps, really does help get it out there, get other people kind of watching it and stuff like that. So yeah, we'll definitely say kind of please and thank you for that. We will be also, I just want to, I don't know if that's gonna, that's not what I wanted. I just want to very quickly go there, and then yeah, so we have that there then. Yeah, if there's anybody in the TikTok audience that disagrees, like, guys, please share it out. It genuinely really does help. It gets people in here, it helps the conversations go and everything else. So yeah, absolutely do help get it out. I'm only going to be live for about an hour or so because I am in work tomorrow. So yeah, please do like, share it out. There's just a few people kind of joining. I know YouTube audience that I am saying that quite a lot, but there's just constantly people kind of joining and stuff like that. So yeah, if there's anybody who disagrees, blah blah blah, yeah, join and we can have some conversations. You know, it's been a really good, like, seems like, yeah, his whole thing is his ex being dominant over him. Savage, yeah, no, I'm kind of sad to say that that actually wasn't about his ex. That's about his now wife. Look, I'm not necessarily going to criticize any one person's relationship. If that's how you want to conduct yourself in your relationship, there's, you know, I mean, like, there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. You know, I mean, if a woman doesn't want to have, we'll say, like, her own career and does want to kind of stay at home and take care of the kids and mind the house, 100%, if that's what they want to do and they're not being kind of coerced into that position or into that you know, mindset, 100% like, let them off. And I don't necessarily think that you would disagree with that, but like, the idea that, like, you have to be that's when I kind of yeah, that's when I kind of take some issues there. But yeah, it's definitely wild. It's definitely wild. There's been an awful lot of kind of stuff as well, because like, so like I am kind of interested in having kind of conversations with people, having debates with people, because an awful lot of kind of stuff, we'll say, only in the last little kind of while. Some of it I talked with Rob about, not all of it I did, but there's definitely been kind of some stuff that's kind of happened in the last little while that I do kind of want to have a conversation about. So yeah, we'll like, kind of do it that way. But yeah, if you do disagree, please do pop up. We have empty queue at the moment, so you will definitely be kind of first up. If you do disagree, you can kind of do all that. So I would say he was saying that when he was equals with his ex, that she was yes, sorry, yeah, I don't think you understand. So just be equals in a relationship. I've had exes like that. Yeah, absolutely. And so have I. I've had exes over it. And I mean, like, I've had like relationships where the entirety of the relationship is almost like a competition. And I mean, like, that's just not how a relationship should be, you know? I mean, like, you are like partners, you are equal partners. You shouldn't be in kind of competition with everybody else, like, you know what I mean? Adele, I see you hovering. Pop in, like my live, please. Possibly even share it out. I don't know who you would share it out to, because I know that you don't follow Trumpists or anything else, but you know, and now you're gone again. You don't even pop in and like the live. What absolute disrespect. Absolute disrespect. And you're back again. Like my live, Adele. So over on YouTube, Savage says, like, you can just be adults in a relationship. People just don't get that. Yeah, absolutely. Like, they just don't. They just really don't, you know? And like, as I kind of said, like, you know what I mean? Like, me and my girlfriend, like, have kind of talked about, like, that when we're together, when we're living together, that there's going to be equal responsibilities. There's going to be equal kind of jobs to do in the house, right? So, and you know, we're both going to do them. It's not necessarily kind of like, you know, her jobs and my jobs. They're both of our jobs to do, and it's just like the things need to get done. So I mean, like, it's not a competition of who does them and who doesn't. And I mean, also, it's not really just like as simple as that either, because you're going to have some situations where we'll say that, like, somebody is you know, I mean, like, somebody gets sick, for fuck's sake, and you're literally just not able to, you know, like do the, like, if you're bedridden with like a cold, or with, like, you know, some sort of like an infection or a something, right? You're not in the mood in that moment to go and fucking do do the dishes and hoover the fucking carpets. Like, that's not what you're in the mood for, right? So I mean, there's obviously somebody then in that situation that has to pick up the slack, so to speak. So yeah, I mean, like, that's it. Yeah, it's just really kind of weird to me, almost. But anyway, Blaster says his wife has a PhD. Very good for her. And I'm pretty much the exact opposite of Rob. So when he calls masculine, I would call insecure, and projection from those insecurities. I am not threatened by women being empowered. Absolutely not. I could not agree more. I absolutely could not agree more. My girlfriend, she is in college at the moment, and when she graduates, she is going to be a biochemical engineer. So I will be well kept, absolutely well kept. She will be earning significantly more than I will. So I mean, like, yeah, I mean, it's just crazy, you know what I mean? Like, the idea that you're, like, still in that kind of situation, going to be, you know, ruling the house with an iron fist, whatever else, like, that's just not going to happen, you know? I mean, yeah. I think I read somewhere actually that like a certain percentage, like a higher than you would think percentage of divorces happen, or at least like at like the root cause of them are because like over like general disagreements about like house chores, which I mean like to me is equal parts ridiculous and so easily fucking solvable. Like it's mental to me, it's absolutely mental to me in this day and age. Like the amount of couples, right, married couples who are both working, and the idea is still somehow that when the woman gets home from work, right, that they have to do all of the kind of the cooking and the cleaning and the housework and the this and the that and the everything else, whereas the man gets to fucking sit at home in his fucking pants and just relax and watch TV and do nothing. I mean, like, of course you would get fucking fed up of that. Of course you would. Like, the idea that you wouldn't get tired of that. Like, again, you're not even in a marriage at that stage. You're just in, like, you have a mammy, you know? You got married to somebody who was treating you as a child, and it's just crazy. I would never ever want that. I wouldn't disrespect my girlfriend enough to put her in a position where she has to take care of me. That's just not something that I would ever want, you know? But again, as Savage has just said, it's not about the chores. It's what they, it's just what that kind of represents. 100%. It's what it represents. It's not about kind of, it's not about, 100%. I just agree. They don't respect you enough to pitch in, and that's the problem. They want to be waited on hand and foot. 100%. They just want a mammy. They want a maid. They want a servant. They don't want a wife. They don't want a partner. They don't want someone who's going to kind of, you know, go through life with them. They just want that. And it's just, I mean, I'm sorry, but it's just wrong. I just think it's just wrong, you know? But yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, okay, so getting back to TikTok for just a moment. If there's anybody who disagrees with any of the prompts that is on screen, you can ask to join. We can have a debate, a conversation. That's what we're here for. That's what we are looking for. We're looking for conversation. So if you could please like and share out the live, it really does help TikTok push it to other people that maybe haven't seen it before. All of those sorts of things. So yeah, please do, if you can at all, like it and share it out. It really does help. Not going to be live for too much longer. I'm not going to lie to you though. We'll kind of see how the conversations go, but if there is a decent conversation to be had, we'll kind of go a little bit longer than I had maybe wanted to. But yeah, we're gonna be looking for conversations anyway. But yeah, there's like an awful lot of kind of other stuff that's just kind of happened in US politics kind of recently. That's kind of why I'm wanting conversations. That's why I'm wanting debates and stuff like that. But and Savage has to go to bed in a few. I probably have to go to bed fairly kind of soon anyway. Because I'm in work tomorrow. Yeah, we'll kind of see how it goes anyway. Savage, you've caught 90% of the live stream anyway. And I mean, at the end of the day, I have been live for almost about for almost 2 hours, just barely short of 2 hours. So, we'll see. You appreciate you doing this. I appreciate each and every single one of you. You know, we have a lot of people in the YouTube chat at the moment in the YouTube live. So if you are not subscribed to me on YouTube, I'm only a couple away from 1,000. Please go over. It takes 2 seconds and sub to me on YouTube. It genuinely really does help. I'm only a couple away from 1,000. I'm actually going to check on it now at the moment and just see exactly how much away from 1,000 I am. I am 9 people. I am 9 people away from 1,000. So on YouTube or on TikTok, if you are not subscribed, please do. For people on TikTok, if you go over onto my profile, it is on my link tree that is in my bio. That's where I am live there as well. So if you are or if you can, please do go over and subscribe to me. I'm only 9 away from 1,000. It's a huge milestone on YouTube. So yeah. Yeah, other than that though, like, no, it's been a good kind of couple of days, honestly. I am still definitely we need to get me to 1,000. Yeah, 100%. Exactly. As I said, I'm only 9 away, for God's sake. 991 subscribers I am sitting at the moment. So yeah, we definitely do need to get me up to 1,000. But I am going to be in the next couple of days. Can I debate gender affirming care for minors? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Pop up. Yeah, we are going to be in the next couple of days. We're going to be. I had it scheduled, and last night I was just really fucking tired. I don't know what happened to me. I went to bed like 2 hours early or something like that. I was just absolutely exhausted. But we are going to be playing a horror game, and I fucking hate horror games. I do not play them. I do not watch horror films. It's just not a genre that I am. But me playing a horror game is fucking hilarious for you guys. So just, yeah, absolutely. We're going to have one conversation there now on the gender affirming care for minors. So let's go for it. How you doing, Wes? How old are you?
I'm 18.
18, okay. Yeah, so why do you disagree on gender affirming care for minors?
So, foregoing like the gender affirming, it can genuinely have tragic consequences with like the transgender youth experience. They can like develop like unnecessary amounts of levels of violences and bullying that get like just from being transitioned at that age, especially with the world going around just like that in general, and especially with the youth at this age is going to be bashing that kid and will probably lead to suicide. And they don't know, even if it's under minors, how do they know specifically that like they genuinely feel like that? What if that feeling can change in any sense to the form of when a kid, say minors especially, like they can feel like that and then just immediately not sometimes, and that's just depending on their level of mood changes and all that. But
Yeah, I mean, like, okay, so this stuff is definitely not dependent on like mood swings and stuff like that. I mean, so if somebody is approved for that sort of care as at a young age, I mean, like, they have been consistently, insistently, and persistently displaying kind of that, like, those sorts of behaviors that are attributed with kind of you know, a need for that care. So I mean, like, they have gone to like doctors, they have gone to pediatricians, they have gone to therapists, they have like this has been absolutely on like almost 100% confirmed. There is a rate of like people who have gone down the like that sort of route, who then do back off of it and who then do kind of change their mind. It is incredibly small. That's not to dismiss those cases, but it is incredibly small. And as we know, I mean, like, so the kind of care that minors would get, I mean, we're kind of pretty much exclusively talking about puberty blockers, and they are entirely reversible.
yeah. So, like, also adding on to that, I said that very completely wrong, and I do apologize. I did not mean mood swings or any of that. I apologize for saying
Yeah,
that
yeah,
part
yeah,
wrong.
that's fine.
Yeah, but also it's also with the factor of transgender youth are also more likely to feel less safe at school than cisgender youth. That is youth who chooses like gender identity, inconsistence, whatever, all that stuff. It can affect the child mentally and like cause them to in a depression state. In some cases, I have a source. I don't know where I can find it if you need me to. There's multiple cases of kids who have transitioned back just because of their mental health being dropped, and rate causes of suicide because of the youth, the violence, basically. That is like that's not a problem with the gender affirming care, but that's also it's gonna help them at the same time, but it's also gonna make their life worse in some senses, where it makes just the person want to be more depressed, honestly. Like it just affects their whole mental area with that. And it could like perform like it helping the mental health and all that, but it also does perform a lot with the society that we have out there, violence, all the like disappropriate levels of it, basically. And the bullying, it's just like it would be better for not minors, basically, especially with minors. Like you're still going to school, you're still going through all that. You'd still get more like hate and bashful stuff. Sorry, uh, around that area, but it would be better for non-minors who aren't like forced into school and are going through this society. It would be better to just have it yourself, like older ages, instead of just like cohering with the society and all that. With basically this whole society is fucked up with that. So the violence levels in school mainly is the issue that is with the gender for affirming care. Like it affirms it like at minor's age though, like that's a little bit unnecessary, I think. Like after you're 18 and you're in like a college or something with people who actually understand and develop emotions better, or the way a person feels, it'd just be like more, you know, able for the person.
So okay, so I understand everything that you're saying. If somebody is getting bullied, that's hardly the trans person's fault. That's surely everybody else's fault and kind of wider
Yeah.
society's fault. So like that really kind of shouldn't be even really kind of used as an argument against it. The like arguments kind of for it would be that trans people who have gone through who have not gone through the puberty associated with the gender that they now that they now don't align with. I mean, the depression rates are way, 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 way lower. The rates of kind of gender dysphoria or of body dysmorphia are way, 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 way lower in all of those kinds of cases. And I mean, overall, kind of happiness indicators are way, way, way up. So, like, if our goal, which it definitely should be, is to make the most amount of people the most amount of happy that they possibly can be. At least that's what I would kind of argue for, at least in a kind of decent society. Then yeah, absolutely, we should be kind of doing everything that like makes it easier for the most amount of people to be kind of happy.
Yeah, that's a very great reason, and it does drop suicide rates and all that. It like helps depression and suicide, and it makes the person feel better. There is many good arguments against that and everything with that. It's also like it is mainly the society's problem, especially in youth. That is my point. It's not a really good argument at this rate, but it's just as a minor while you are going through those ages of school, that is going like I feel like that would make the person more suicidal or more depressed with the bashful comments and hate constantly towards that, and gender affirming would completely like help them with that. Like it would transition them for that point, and like their body dysmorphia, it'll fix all that and all that. But also the people is the main problem here, like especially for minors. That's what I'm trying to get at here, is minors being in school with this society and not just being at a like say a job or something like college where people don't usually do that, like immature stuff, immature rates with all that including into the person's mindset and all that shit. It just doesn't work out for a minor.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I would definitely kind of agree that like people are bullied and people are kind of harassed in schools, but like again, I wouldn't use that as an argument against why somebody shouldn't go through gender affirming care. I mean, especially if they have kind of gone through all of the kind of criteria that has been set out by the oh fuck, what is it? The American Psychological Association, or the I'm blanking on the exact name, but it's definitely something kind of along those lines. Anyway, basically they have like set out a list of kind of guidelines to follow when you are kind of treating somebody who is a minor when they are going through all of this stuff. And yeah, I mean, like, as long as those kind of criteria are met and like the guidelines are followed, again, we know that puberty blockers are 100% reversible. So I like when I say 100%, that like it's not that it basically just didn't happen then afterwards, right? There are some side effects, in the sense that like you might be like an inch or two shorter than you were otherwise meant to be. I just don't think that that's a good enough kind of reason to say that this shouldn't be the case, or that this shouldn't be kind of done, because again, the amount of detransitioners are so incredibly small, and the yeah, I just don't think that that's a good enough kind of trade-off for it.
Yeah, well, thank you. Have a nice day. I know my point isn't the best, but it's just, depression rates, all that for kids, it's not the best. But have a nice day. Thank you.
You too. Bye bye. Okay, so we do have Luca. Luca's back. Luca is here, and he is requesting to join. So yeah, we're gonna have Luca up. I will say ahead of time, I am only going to be live for about another 20 minutes or so, so we'll just see how this conversation goes, and we'll go from there.
How you doing, Steven?
How you doing, Luca?
I'm good, man. I was watching the YouTube. I'm subscribed now. I'm your 991st subscriber.
Oh, well,
so
thank
yeah,
you
I like the YouTube.
Well, thank you very much.
No problem, brother. A couple of things that I want to talk about the last time, which we didn't really have the chance, was a couple topics, which is Doge and Elon, which I know you sort of dabbled with previously, but I do sort of want to sort of re-emphasize the Doge type of thing. I'm assuming you're very against Doge, you're against Elon's involvement, etc.
Well, I mean, I'm not like, oh God, I'm not in principle against an organization that is legitimately going to kind of clean up excess government spending. However, I don't think that that's what Elon is actually trying to do.
Okay. So you think he's trying to like get into the government just for his own gain? Is that it?
Well, I mean, essentially, yes. I mean, like, basically, he's the like kind of programs and the stuff that he has cut so far are like should not be included in excess spending. I mean, he's like gone after US aid, which like an awful lot of why am I fucking blanking on the fucking phrase of how to say this? Low income earners. Why was I blanking on that? Oh my God. Anyway, sorry. An awful lot of low income earners are like dependent on. I mean, like that, like in that
On
is
US
like
aid?
what? Yeah, absolutely. In that is like
Wait,
food
wait.
stamps.
Low
and-
income earners? Are you talking about in the States?
Yes. Of course, we're talking about in the States.
Okay.
We're talking about Doge.
Okay, USAID, I do not think at all that's what it's for. USAID is to provide support, like funding all around the world for like third world countries, etc.
Well, yeah, that is part
It's
of what
US
they do.
aid-
It's
aid
not
for other
only what they
countries.
do. Yeah, but yes, it's part of what they do, but it's not all of what they do.
Okay, the fraud, even like listen, even if you're trying to defend some of the USAID spending, the fraud found behind USAID is ridiculous, Stephen. Like if you look at some of these receipts, we should not be spending millions of dollars for some re-education, wokeism education in Africa. We shouldn't be sending condoms to Zimbabwe. We shouldn't be doing some like millions of taxpayer money. It's just not what obviously Trump got in his term. It's very clear that the US population does not want their money spent in that manner. So it's absolutely, I mean, I think it's fraudulent, even though Biden was voted in, because it's just pushing a agenda that's so like ridiculous. So I mean, the fraud found, especially now that Doge.gov is live, and you can see every action in the Department of Government Efficiency right now. If you go to Doge.gov, and it's all public, there is no room for Elon to take advantage or to be have conflict of interests and given his companies like more subsidies, etc. It's all public, and we can see the gross overspending of the Biden administration, obviously with these DEI programs, with the transgender surgeries, etc., in third world countries. Like, how do you respond to that? I don't think any real, like, rational person that wants the best for the United States would look at these charges and say, let's spend some more money on those types of wokeism things.
Yeah, okay, so there's definitely a lot to respond to there. So I don't think that anybody who is in favor of an organization like Doge coming into effect, I don't think that anybody who supports Doge, who genuinely supports Doge, right, who is MAGA, I don't think that those voters would need any sort of persuasion in coming to the idea that there is corruption within the government, and simply just because the government says something, that doesn't mean that that's necessarily what they are doing. So you're saying that Doge has full transparency, and there's a separate kind of government website and everything else set up for it. How do you know that that's exactly that? Like, they are posting exactly what they are doing. Elon said that he was going to do full transparency, and then mentioned X when he was talking about it. I'm like, another company that he owns is going to do full transparency on an organization that he is in charge of. I'm sorry, I just simply just do not see this. But anyway, I mean, like, specifically when we are talking about Doge and the kind of bad stuff that he has done, that's just from like an objective kind of looking at it. If we are specifically talking about the bad stuff that Doge has done, they got rid of all of the people who were in charge of the nukes as an oopsie, and then hired them all back when they realized what they had done. The idea of sending condoms to other kind of countries, you might disagree with it in general. I personally think that the stopping of the spreads of STDs is a pretty high important thing. Now look, you may not want to be paying for it, but I like, considering that, like, the massive extent of the military complex, especially over in the US. I mean, if you cut that budget in half, you're still the biggest military, and you've got all of this other money to spend. So I think that, like, maybe if I have to maybe even necessarily give you more credit than you're due, I would say that you are maybe correct in all of this kind of overspending. I just don't think that you have your, like, kind of eyes focused on the right thing, that there is massive overspending in.
So what else do you think, there's massive overspending in then? Apart from the USAID and the other branches of government, etc.
Well, I just said it, the military industrial complex.
The military.
Well,
okay.
Yes.
I mean, listen, I'm not a person to defend the military spending. Obviously, the US spends an incredible amount of military, which to be honest, I'm not educated to have an opinion in like how much we spend on the military. But I mean, obviously, I think Doge has saved $55 billion straight away. I think Elon taking over X was a great thing. Releasing the Twitter files and how the Biden administration was literally bribing social media companies to censor right-wing opinions and label it under hate speech, etc. That's something that Elon says, which obviously he knows because he has the Twitter files and he bought Twitter and he saw the whole whatever. That's the same with Mark Zuckerberg, which obviously, like, when he got pressure to take down stuff on Instagram and Facebook, etc. So yes, under the Biden administration, there was massive corruption, and this is provable. Like, this is not, just some conspiracy. We have invoices that the Biden-Harris administration sent the companies, paying the employees and the heads of the different departments, I don't know at the top of my head, to censor the speech. So obviously, number one, Elon was great to take over Twitter. And I think now, if he's actually the head of the Department of Government Efficiency, that's nothing but positive. I don't see why people would be against a sort of department to manage government spending, to sort of control inflation. And I mean, now I'm not sure if I haven't fact checked it, but apparently they're going to give back the US citizens like $5,000 in some stimulus check. And by the way,
really, they've saved $15 trillion. Is that what they've saved? Because I thought that you said 55 million earlier.
No, 55 billion in total, but they've sold.
Yeah, so 55 billion in total is considerably less than 13 trillion. So if you were to say,
did I say 13 trillion?
No, but that's how much you would have needed to save to send all 279 million tax-paying citizens a $5,000 check. That's how much you would need to have saved, and they haven't saved anywhere even close to that. They haven't even saved a fraction of it.
Sure.
So that's just not going to happen. And also, can I just ask you, right, as someone who is so massively in favor of Elon and stuff like that, what happened to the 5 commercials that he was going to show during the Super Bowl that he apparently paid $40 million for out of his own pocket? What happened to those? Because they never surfaced.
I have no idea.
Yeah. See, it's maybe just that like some people kind of read a headline.
Do you think he pocketed the money?
No, it's just that some people read a headline and ran with it as though it was fact. That is literally what happened. Like somebody somewhere made up that story as if that's what he was going to do. Elon never indicated that that's what he was going to do, but it spread like absolute wildfire and people believed it. And then, oh look, the Super Bowl rolled around and it never happened. Look, the idea that, sending condoms to other countries, kind of building foreign aid, that's not going to be beneficial in the long run to the US is just absolutely laughable. The idea that he fired nuclear scientists, the people who were in charge of nukes, as a literal oopsie. As an oopsie,
I think that's false.
Oh my god, we did that. What? That is crazy. And then hired them all back like 24 hours later. The idea that you do that and then have the absolute audacity, the laughable irony of the agency responsible for doing that is called the Department of Government Efficiency. Is the irony is just ridiculous. Steven, I just want
to address a couple of things, which is, I think, I haven't fact checked you because this is the first time I'm hearing it. He fired all the people in charge of the nukes. I think that's laughable. If he did that, obviously I disagree, happened. But I think that's straight from MSNBC. You definitely were seeing some propaganda when you read that for sure.
Dude, you and I are both living in Ireland, right? That's what you have said in the past lives.
Sure.
Me and you are both living in Ireland. Yeah. I don't look at MSNBC. We don't even have that option here. I don't look at it online. I don't follow any kind of mainstream media. Not a single kind.
So what's your source?
Is of independent media. People who are not being people who are literally not bought and paid for to push certain things.
Can I ask what your source is for the firing? The nuke people. What's your source?
I can't think of an exact source off the top of my head, but I mean, like, if you were to look into this, that's absolutely what they did. I mean, like, would you like take like a testimonial from some of the people who were actually fired and then hired back 24 hours later? Like, is that like, would you take that as a source?
Listen, I'll tell you
Because the
something,
thing about it
Steven.
is,
If that's true,
if I look
if
it
that's
up,
true,
right?
I agree with you. Hold on, I agree with you. I'm not trying to be, trying to take devil's advocate and just say the opposite of everything you
No,
say.
yeah, and
But
that's
obviously, there has to be some sort of like fact check in relation to this, because I heard like the other day that they were taking down all the signs in the courts that's saying for all the people, because they're kicking out all the immigrants, etc. That's probably, there's a lot of propaganda. So I just want to fact check you. If you're correct, Stephen, we agree.
okay, so some of the sources that are reporting on this are BBC, AP News, CNN, the Japan Times are covering this. Jesus, this is a really big fucking story. NPR, NBC, the New York Times, CBS,
MSNBC,
The Independent. Yeah, so they're one of the people that are covering it. Of course, it's a massive news story, and why wouldn't they be covering it? Like, I just fundamentally disagree with this idea, because, and it's why I asked you about kind of like if you would take the kind of testimony of those scientists themselves, because the next question was going to be, well, if I give you a source, right? So if I listed the first source that popped up, would you just take that as like an actual source, or would you just say that it was just liberal bias? And I mean, like, this is the problem that like an awful lot of us are having in this kind of day and age when we're talking about politics. We are giving people a source, and like this is like general, and like it's not even me, but there are like other leftists or people who are like against Trump, who are giving you guys sources on these things, and you're just simply just dismissing them as liberal bias. Well, like, how are we ever supposed to have a decent conversation about what's actually going on if you're just going to dismiss a source as liberal bias? It's either happening or it's not. Why I got into talking about politics, why I got into talking, but it's just why I got into talking about politics, and this is not even a rant against you, but why I got into talking about politics in the first place is that things are either facts or they're not. But somehow now it's just gotten to a stage where, because of a certain source, that's a liberal source, or that's a this like kind of a source. Well, like, no, things are either facts or they're not. It either happened or it didn't. This happened. That was not a rant against you. It was just a rant in general.
Yeah, no, I get you. I understand. Well, I mean, if we were talking about it in general and we're talking about the sources on social media, obviously the left has been a lot more deceiving than the right has been when it came to censoring speech, when it came to sources, etc. Obviously, you've seen Trump be attacked like literally 24/7 in 2016. Now he's being attacked again, literally for his whole political career. That's even with the lawfare, and we can talk, if we want to talk about the court cases, etc. We can. But obviously, you're going to have some sort of fact check, because obviously there's MSNBC headlines that are grossly biased, that's saying, oh, well, Trump is putting the immigrants in cages. That's not true. That was under the Obama administration. Like, I can't name any more off the top of my head, but there's just so much.
Just hang on just for 2 seconds. Yes, they were absolutely built under Obama. I'm not disagreeing with that, but Trump absolutely put kids in cages. Like, that happened. They were built under Obama. I'm completely and utterly agreeing with you there. But he absolutely put kids in cages. That happened. That is fact.
What do you think about the separation of families?
I think it is grossly immoral.
Okay, so if I get pulled over, if I'm a U.S. citizen and I get pulled over and I'm
you get arrested and then you're separated from your family, yeah, okay.
That's the same thing. Should the illegal immigrants be treated as criminals?
It's absolutely not the same thing, and I can even use your worldview to debunk you, right? So you're saying,
go for it,
that if you're a US citizen, which you are, and you're pulled over and you're sent to prison, you are therefore separated from your family, right? Correct. Under your worldview, right, the parents and the children are equally not legal, right? They are equally not not justified in going into the US. So why the need to separate them? Why not just send them all home together? Why do you need to separate them is my main point, right? Even I don't because there is okay, so I hold the position that no human is illegal because you would not call yourself legal. That's just not something that actually happens, right? So you will have a conversation about, oh well, these people are they're illegal. The term legals does not come up in day-to-day conversation, so I just don't. But anyway, that's an aside point. Even under your worldview, right? Even if I was to kind of ignore everything that is happening,
Sure.
and was to agree with you that if they're not legal and they don't have a right to enter the US, fine, send them back. Why separate them?
Okay, I'll tell you why to separate them. So there's a couple of things which I want to address with what you just said, Stephen. But obviously, if an illegal immigrant, whether that's an adult or a child, breaks into the country, straight away they are criminals because they broke the law to enter them in the country. And when they get arrested, yes, they should be separated. Why they should be separated? Because obviously there is no children prisons. Obviously, in a prison cell, there's not going to be the men and women. There's not going to be men and children or women and children, etc. There has to be some sort of regulation. Like every prison system in the world, they separate based on gender. They separate based on age, of course. So there has to be some sort of separation.
Right,
That's just for the
even,
monitoring.
But why even send them to prison in the first place? You already, I mean,
because they're criminals.
It's a civil offense. It's not a criminal offense. So there's a little bit.
I'm pretty sure it's criminal. It's absolutely criminal.
No, it's absolutely not. It is a civil offense. It's not a criminal offense. But
they
even
broke the law. They broke the law.
Yes, they broke a civil law, not a criminal law. There is a difference between the two. I'm nearly sure, man, in our first interaction, I sent you off for 5 minutes to Google the difference between a civil and a criminal offence. And you did so. And you came back and you dropped the point, but now you're back on it for some reason. I don't know why. But anyway, it's a criminal offence, not a civil. So it's a civil offence, not a criminal offence. But even if I was to kind of take your position, if they have broken the law, why send them to prison anyway? Because that's taxpayer dollars that's going to fund and to house them and to feed them and to all of these sorts of things. Why not just send them back? Why not just say the border's closed, fuck off, go back to where you came from? Why would you not just say that? Why do you insist on sending them to prison, thereby separating them? Why would you do that?
Sure, and I'll tell you why. Obviously, if there was like illegal immigrants that came through the southern border, you can't just kick them off in the southern border, just leave all their stuff, close the border, and that's it. Because obviously there's a process, whether it's like releasing migrants to Mexico or whatever. So obviously, if the immigrants come through the southern border and they're from all over the world, and there's illegal immigrants that come from all over, they are sent back. Well, now they're sent back, thankfully, with planes, and they go back to their home country in that way. But you can't just give it back to the Mexican to Mexico and just say, look, here's the people that that were illegal immigrants. You can have them. There has to be some sort of as I was saying earlier, there has to be some sort of vetting of the people, of where they come from, their criminal record, etc. There can't be a situation where you can possibly defend just the entry of millions of illegal immigrants and just say, well, okay, listen, they're running from war, they're running from whatever, which is a good point, but that would make them legal. They could claim asylum, they would be legal. But no, there's millions of illegal immigrants that are mostly men. There's not women and children that come over the border. It's mostly men, and they. Well, I'm not going to be a big advocate of they're all criminals. Well, they are all criminals because they broke the law in the first place. But like previous criminals for mental institutions, whatever, I don't really assign to that sort of the Trump, rhetoric. But obviously, they should be sent home. They can't just be sent all the way back to Mexico. Nor can we just give them to Canada. Say, listen, your border, get them out of here. So they have to be vetted and they have to be sent back to their country. But we should have a border strong enough in the first place where they don't enter in the first place illegally. We should have a border so there is no situation where we have to separate. There is no situation where we have to send them back on planes or whatever in the first place. There can't possibly be, like, when Texas was trying to build up the border, they tried to put barbed wire, etc., on the southern border. Biden administration sent federal agents to go and take down the border, literally taking down the southern border. Why? Obviously, I think that they're flying in voters that can vote all across the blue and red and swing states, etc. It's like it's nonsensical. Why would you not have a border? Why would you not have a process? It's just wrong. Like, it's just wrong. How can you defend that?
I mean, like, you can have a border and you can have a process and whatever else, but if Trump is talking about literally just closing the border, then there shouldn't be a need for a process to vet them, to keep them as prisoners, and then to eventually anyway send them home. Why not just send them home in the first place? Why not just turn them away at the border? And again, it is a civil offense. It is not a criminal offense to cross a fucking imaginary line. And also, and I'm so glad that you brought this up, Trump doesn't understand what an asylum seeker is. That's why he spent months, and I mean literally months, on the campaign trail saying that they were coming from insane asylums. He doesn't understand what an asylum seeker is.
Sure. And the reason why I said, I just want to refer to the previous thing. The reason why I said you have to vet them and you have to, like, register, go through the process, is because they all claim asylum. Whether they have a valid asylum reason and they're running from war-torn countries or whatever, which would make them legal, there has to be a process. And the process, by the way, right now, in the States,
but that's
is
not
really
the case.
bad.
Yeah, right. But that's not the case if the border is just fully closed, which is what Trump wants to do. He wants to just shut it down. That's what he said. He declared a national emergency in his inauguration speech.
Can I tell you what he wanted to do?
He wanted to shut down the border entirely. That's what he ran on. That's what he said. Literally, like, fucking less than an hour into his second term. That's what he said he was wanting to do. He said he was wanting to shut it down. Cancel it completely.
Yes.
There's nobody coming in. Asylum seekers be damned. There's nobody coming in. So why do you need to vet them and house them as prisoners? Why do you need to do that?
Okay, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what right now. And I think something you forgot about was to remain in Mexico, which the asylum seekers would stay in Mexico. So they wouldn't even cross the border in the first place. We could have the strongest border on the planet, and we can still take the applications of asylum seekers which remain in Mexico. That's remain in Mexico, with obviously famously actually, I think it was Kamala that rebuked it. But the remain in Mexico was perfect because we had a safe and secure border. There wasn't illegal immigrants pouring through the border, and when they were caught, they claimed asylum and they went through the process, and then later they were re-let out. They'd remain in Mexico to claim asylum, and the border was shut. And we saw, I mean, obviously we did see some illegal immigrants, but we saw a lot less. Like, I'm saying 4 times less than we did under Kamala and Biden. So the remain in Mexico is literally the answer to the question.
No, you didn't.
Absolutely.
No, you absolutely
didn't. It's 4 million.
No, you absolutely didn't. There was the same amount of border crossings in Trump's final year as president as there was under Biden's final year as president. That's just in the numbers.
Wait, final year?
Yes.
Yes, that's not in total. So in total, under the Trump administration, there was 4 million illegal immigrants.
Hang on.
Under the Kamala and Harris administration, there was 16.
Dude, I don't want to mute you, so just please stop. You look at the final year that Trump was was president for the first 4 years. This is after all of the border policies, after all of them, after doing all of these sorts of things with the border. There was the same amount of border crossings in his last year as compared to Biden's last year. So if you're saying that Biden let in way too many immigrants, then so did Trump. So why do you trust him this time?
I'm saying in total. I'm not saying just for the last year. I'm saying in total under the 4 years.
What's your argument? He let
Okay,
in
and
the
this is my
same
argument, which is
amount.
in total.
So right, no. So you're
That's
saying
only in
that
the
the
last year.
rates. You're saying that the rates under Biden were way too much, right? And why I said the last year is for a very, very, very specific point, because after all of Trump's border policies were passed, right, and after all of Biden's policies were passed, or Biden got rid of an awful lot of the things that Trump did, right? So at the end of their both respective terms, there was the same amount of border crossings under Trump and under Biden. So after all of the work that Trump did, there was the same amount of border crossings. And after all of the work that Biden did, there was the same amount of border crossings. So if you're saying, if your argument is that Trump is the one who is going to solve this issue, if you're saying that there was too many crossings under Biden, why do you trust him now when the numbers under Biden were bad, but the numbers under Trump were just as bad? Why do you trust him?
Sure. And I can see your point now, because you're saying the regulation all imposed, which is amazing, the remain in Mexico, and still in the last year it was the same amount. I'm assuming that's because of COVID. During COVID, that's probably why the asylum the illegal immigrants, not the asylum seekers, they're definitely not, the illegal immigrants cross the border. What I'm saying, Stephen, and I get your point, but in total, I rather see it as a holistic, obviously, keyword here. In all 4 years, whether in the Trump and Biden, all 4 years, there was around 4 million, give or take like 500,000 illegal immigrants. And in the Kamala and Biden administration, there was 16, give or take 500,000. So that is 4 times more. And I'm not saying 20 million. I'm not saying the 25 million that Trump says. I'm being very moderate with the figures. But why I'm assuming when you bring up in the last year, that's probably because of COVID. Yes, I don't think there was probably some regulations that weren't being enforced during COVID, and the government was, I don't know, moderately shut down. That's why there was a lot of border crossings.
Well, the government was moderately shut down, yeah, but they were also massively cracking down on anybody coming into the country. Why would that not affect the border as well?
Well, obviously during COVID, that had an impact on the illegal immigrants, because just as COVID happened, then all of a sudden the regulations are out the window.
Well, no, if anything, the regulations should have been strengthened, should have been enforced more. For fuck's sake, you couldn't get a plane into the country under in COVID. You literally couldn't enter the country for like a holiday or to visit a friend or a family member. But all of a sudden now, all of the regulations that happened under the border, they just went out the window. Does that really make sense to you?
No, I'm sure the regulations were relatively enforced the same.
That's what you just said, though. That is what you just said.
Okay. Sure. That is what I said. Maybe in a chance where obviously they're being stricter on the border because of COVID, they're illegal immigrants, so they just cross the border. They don't remain in Mexico for their asylum process. So I don't know what the correlation is, Stephen. Even if I were to concede this argument, and I'm going to say, listen, yes, they were the same at the last years of Trump and Biden's term. Can you at least admit the figures, which was 4 million give or take and 16 million give or take, and how they handled the border a lot worse than Trump? Because I feel like even moderates like Destiny and other people, they even say that the Trump's border was better.
Well, no, look, I mean, oh, okay. So the numbers of people that were coming in under Biden, yes, they were objectively higher. But what did Biden try to do on the border? He tried to pass the most comprehensive border bill that was introduced by a Republican congressman. And what did Trump do? He called them all and he told them to kill the bill because he wanted to run on the issue of the border rather than fix the problem. The idea that Trump calls a national emergency on day one and then wants to pass all of these policies and all of these sorts of things when there was an opportunity to pass an actual border bill, Trump killed it.
Yeah.
But why did he kill it? If he cares so much about the border, he declared it a national emergency on hour one of his second term. A national emergency. why would he not have allowed the bill to go through if he actually cares? Because my point is that he doesn't
Sure.
actually care. Trump doesn't have any fucking policies. He just has some things that he likes.
Okay. And by the way, I'm gonna concede partially this argument because I do disagree with what Trump did. There has to be some context which I'm gonna add, which was the comprehensive border bill, which was remain in Mexico, and a whole other plethora of regulations that Biden proposed, which got rebuked, was rebuked by Biden in the first place. He tried to reinstate the bill, which was later rebuked by Trump and the rest of the Republicans. So he rebuked that bill that he was trying to propose at the start of an administration. He rebuked the Remain in Mexico. He rebuked all the rest of the regulations where I didn't do. And then now when Biden reinstates it, that's when Trump was like, no, everybody vote against it, which I disagree with. I think Trump shouldn't have done that, and I don't think Trump should have had that massive influence as he did, to vote out the bill. But again, that was a bill that Biden like rebuked and now wanted to reinstate because he made a mistake. Even though I disagree with Trump, obviously Biden is partially at fault because he rebuked it in the first place. Is my point.
Yeah, no, look, I mean, I didn't agree with everything that Biden did. Of course I didn't. I'm a socialist and he's barely left of center. Barely left of center. So, I mean, like, I don't agree with absolutely everything that he did at all. I'm glad you find that funny. It's just true. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
like, look at like there like were there like absolute failures under Biden's term? Yes, absolutely. I've discussed them on like my YouTube lives and on these lives. I might have even discussed them with you actually. But yeah, look, I mean, like, yeah.
Yeah, I think that there's definitely some parts of the Biden administration that is like, even if you're like bipartisan and you're looking at both sides, you have to say that was wrong. There's a lot in Trump's term as well. I'm not going to say that Trump is some, ideal president and best president ever, but obviously when it talks about certain aspects, and I'm going to go back to what we initially talked about, which was the border, foreign policy, which again we debated on previously, domestic policy with the oil production, etc. That was a good thing. Like, that's good. I have no problem conceding that Trump was worse for the environment. I have no problem conceding that Trump was, I don't know what else. There's definitely some things. The abortion things I disagree with because I'm generally pro-choice. Those stuff I disagree with, which I can relate to a lot of left wing or Democrats or whatever. But then again, you can't be so in the Trump derangement syndrome and just say, oh my God, Trump's this evil dictator, whatever, that's going to take over the country, and he's done nothing right at all. There's absolutely been some things that he's done right.
I just think that the whole kind of Trump derangement syndrome, that's just like a thing that you guys made up to exclude valid criticism.
Really?
Yeah, 100%, because when in his first term, when people had genuine criticisms of Trump, that like it was just wafted away as, oh yeah, well you just hate him and that's why you're saying this, or that's why you think this. Yeah, I mean, like, fair play to you in a way for kind of saying that there was some things that he did right and some things that he did wrong. I would disagree on. I would agree as so far as we can define the term some. There was like maybe three.
Sure.
There was maybe 3 in 4 years that he did. So well, yeah, it's more than 2, so it would technically qualify as some. So yeah, all right, okay. I mean, the other thing is that, like, if you were to say, oh well, you just have Trump, this, well, to the people who don't think that he can do anything wrong, well then you just have Trump cult syndrome.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've even said it to my left-leaning friends, which there is a big problem with the cult-like following that Trump has. We've seen it January 6th and the
What do you think, actually?
I'm not
'Cause
going to
this
call
is-
it an
'cause, like,
insurrection.
this is
insurrection.
well, it was, but what do you think about the way more recent thing? I think this is actually only in the last 24 hours. Maybe because of the time zones, it might be slightly longer than that. But the White House official Twitter account tweeted out a photo that was made to look like it was a Times cover of Trump with a king's crown on. What do you make of that?
I think that's horrible. That's horrible if they post. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if that's. I'm just reacting to that now. Obviously, I haven't heard it before,
Right.
but any sort of thing like that, I disagree with. The crownish, the sort of the cultish king, I disagree with, of course.
Yeah, they actually also captioned it. Or sorry, no, it wasn't captioned. It was down. It was also on the actual photo. It was captioned something along the lines of "the king is back." So not only do they depict him as a king, but they also actually call him a king. But however, can you, now that you've heard that piece of information, even if you were to take that as face value, and you can absolutely fact check me on it if you want to, by the way,
Sure.
but even if you were to just take that just as face value, can you honestly say that we're the weird ones for saying that he wants to be a dictator and for saying that he wants to be like king? When the White House is literally posting a picture that aligns with that view, but we're the crazy ones for calling him a dictator? Really?
Sure. In I think that goes with preference, because obviously there's some things which Trump supporters, obviously play as a joke, which Democrats take very seriously. In this case, if Trump is the king and is saying how he's gonna control everyone and whatever, then that's obviously not true. I don't think he's going to be dictatorial and completely authoritarian, but he controls the social media companies like Biden did. I don't think Trump will do that. I don't think he's going to be a dictator in that authoritarian fashion. But obviously, there is Trump derangement syndrome. Of course, when Trump said there's great people on both sides, right? And he talked to that about the white supremacists and the Proud Boys, which was at his rallies. He said there was good people at both sides. That was debunked, and that was completely out of context. Obviously, there is definitely some things which Trump obviously gets snipped, posted, and taken out of context all the time. This, and by the way, this is the first time you tell me about this newspaper thing. Do I think it's a little funny that Trump, the king, is back or whatever? Yes, I do think it's funny. Does that mean he's a dictator because there's a crown that people are saying the king is back? No, I don't think he's gonna. That's not serious. That's not a real serious thing. If there was definitely some implications, sure.
Yeah, but you see, that's definitely. I mean, that's just kind of part of the problem, though, man. I'm sorry. That kind of attitude is literally part of the problem. The idea that you can kind of say that, oh well, it's just kind of funny and it's just played for laughs. You can't and you shouldn't ignore that, because if it's ignored and if it's otherwise celebrated by other kind of MAGA people, then it becomes normalized. And it becomes just kind of, he's just a goofball, he's just doing some funny shit. It's not as simple as that, because that can and should be taken as almost like an attack on the foundations of democracy. The idea that you are saying that there is one person who's going to rule above all. I mean, he's already floated the idea of running for a third term. He's looking at the fucking 22nd. He's looking at the 22nd Amendment. But that's exactly the point, man. You're laughing, and it's the problem. We have these checks and balances in place for a reason, and it is only for the idea that people don't get absolute power. Absolutely. Sure. The guardrails that were on him during his first term have now been lifted thanks with the courts. So it's just the normalization of absolute power. Absolutely. He put out on Truth Social that he has introduced an executive order that he decides what the law is. That is fucking ridiculous. And anybody, I'm fucking Irish and I have lived here my entire life. Anybody who claims to love the US, who claims to be a patriot, should be up in fucking arms about that. They should be protesting that from now until the end of his second term. It is ridiculous to say that the president can decide what the law is. He might as well be a fucking king, if that's the case. Now look, that order is going to be challenged and shot down in any court in like fucking no time at all. It won't even be fucking introduced to a fucking judge. He'll see it and instantly swipe it away. But that's not the point. The idea of him even wanting to introduce that in the first place, that is seriously problematic.
Sure. And you know, I just want to say that I shouldn't have laughed. I think you're right in this point, Stephen, when it comes to joking about this, you know, a sort of dictator sort of fashion. You shouldn't joke about that. I think if Trump wanted to run for a third term or whatever, I think that Trump actually wants to run for a third term? I don't think so. If he were, now I'm putting the hypothetical here. If he wanted to run for a third term, I absolutely wouldn't support him. I don't think many of the Trump supporters, some would, some because they are in the cultish following.
Most would.
I'm not sure about that. I know 60% of Republicans believe in climate change.
If you asked most of Trump's voters who won the 2020 election, they will incorrectly tell you Trump.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
Yeah, like to say that they wouldn't vote for him a third time, in their minds they already voted for him a third time.
Well, yeah.
Because if they believe that Trump won 2020 and they voted for him in 2024, then they've already voted him for president 3 times.
Yeah, I get you. And I just want to finish my last point, which is saying that I wouldn't support that. I don't think that's funny. I shouldn't have laughed there, Stephen. You're 100% right when it comes to the dictator stuff, because I know that that's a genuine like issue with a lot of like leftists and Democrats, which you shouldn't be laughing. You shouldn't laugh. It's not really that much of a joke. And we should have some bipartisan agreement and saying, listen, this obviously Trump is in the rules. When it comes to Trump saying he is the law or whatever, I mean, presidents have given pardons. Trump has pardoned the January 6th protesters. Biden has pardoned his whole family, literally his whole family, like before crimes, etc. Which again, you can sort of argue that they already are above the law in that sense. But again, I just want to rephrase, which is there is a big, for example, you know, there was some Donnie that was on the live, I think the last time or whatever, and he was supporting Trump. They're really dumb. Like they really don't know what they're talking about. They are in that sort of cultish following or whatever. I'm just trying to shed the light that just because the majority of the Trump supporters are that sort of stupid cult-like following, there still is a good like argument for my Trump vote and for the rest of the relatively logical Trump voters out there. It's not just the cult-like following and they're all fascists and they're all whatever, because then obviously it's just divisive. You're splitting the country in two and it's just going to cause more conflict, etc. So yes, I want to say that I agree with you. It shouldn't be a joke. If that's true about Trump being the king, Trump being the whatever, I don't think that's a good idea. It shouldn't be portrayed like he's a dictator, like he's all powerful, etc. And there is a big cult-like following. But again, I don't think like there's some incredible conservative like people out there. JD Vance is incredible. Vivek Ramaswamy is incredible. Obviously, you know, we were talking about Michael Knowles, even though some things I disagree with him. I mean, he's good. Charlie Kirk is good. Like they're relatively logical. They're not in that cult like following. So I don't think Trump supporters should be labeled as all like fascists, cult like followings, etc. And some massive thing. You know?
The last kind of 15 seconds of what you just said, I literally disagreed with every single word you just said, including the and. I mean, the idea that Charlie Kirk is not cultish in his support of Trump is, I know I didn't laugh. It's perhaps the funniest thing I think I've heard in a very, very, very long time.
No, it is
the
true.
idea
I believe
that he is not is ridiculous. Yeah. Look,
I mean, Charlie Kirk said he wouldn't support Trump in a third term. Obviously.
Well, that remains to be seen.
I mean, listen, Charlie Kirk is definitely on the Republican side, and he helped the administration a lot. But that's because of his own political beliefs. I don't think he's so intertwined with the Trump administration that he would do anything they say. I think that's just another like generalization that the Democrats have to say, "Oh, all hail the king." You get me?
Yeah. Yeah. No. Look, I do. Yeah. Look, I think that there is so much more that we could kind of talk about on this. I had said that I was going to go live with you for about 20 minutes. You have been on for 48.
Yeah, no problem.
So I do have work in the morning, so I do need to kind of sign off there at some stage very, 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 very soon. And this conversation could definitely lead us down some rabbit holes where it's going to be another hour probably, right? So yeah, no, look, I know that you're already subbed to the YouTube and you're following me on here. The next time that you see me live, man, pop up and we'll have another conversation, all right? But yeah,
Steve, I just want to say just before we head out, which is completely fine. I gotta hop off too as well. Which is obviously if you're having, I see your YouTube or whatever, and you're talking to a lot of people. If you want to have a podcast and you want to hear from a right wing voice and not just be completely biased towards one side or whatever, I'm more than happy to talk. Like for me, I'm open, honest here. I'll be as bipartisan as I can, obviously relating to both sides, but in case that opportunity comes up, I'll more than happy to respectfully, obviously, defend my position.
Yeah, no, I mean, so, oh God, it's like kind of weird. The kind of brief history of my channel. I started out solo. I went down the kind of route of kind of having a few people on, and it just all being kind of, like several different kind of opinions and stuff like that. It's not that I didn't like it, it's just that I just don't think that like my audience is really kind of getting like the proper opportunity to see and to hear my views. And so that's definitely the kind of road that I have the channel going down now at the moment. It's not that I'm not interested in hearing other kind of views that obviously I'm not. That's why I'm doing TikTok lives, right? But I mean, like in like a kind of like a podcast or like a panel type of a discussion, it's just not what I'm interested in at the moment. But look, as I said, the next time that I'm live, definitely do kind of pop up and we'll have another conversation. I do have to let you go. Thank you for popping up, because you are kind of a returning guest and whatever else, and the first time didn't go so well, but pretty much every time after that though it's been kind of fairly productive and stuff like that. So yeah, no, thank you for kind of coming back and whatever else.
No problem. Well, anyway, my offer extends in the future as well, so no problem if you change your mind in the future. Obviously no hate, all love. I'm not trying to spew some nonsense and polarize your supporters, of course. I'm trying to be as respectful as possible. So yeah, nothing but love, obviously. Yeah, there you go.
All right, man. Take care, and I'll talk to you next time.
Perfect. See you, brother. Bye-bye.
All right, okay, yeah. So as I said, I'm going to be cutting it down there. Going to be leaving it at that. Blaster, you were kind of shooting off there in the comments. There was one message that you did say that it just comes up that the message was redacted. I seen a little kind of bits of it, but I wasn't actually 100% able to kind of read it, so I was kind of reading that and then kind of listening to Luca at the same time. Not 100% sure about that, but look, you've been consistent on here. You've been here for pretty much the entire thing. I've made you mod there now at the moment, so you should be able to kind of message pretty much anything. I think that gives you a little bit extra powers there on comments and stuff like that as well. But anyway, yeah, look, look, genuinely thank you to everybody who is in the TikTok live. Thank you to everybody, especially I do kind of have to say it. I'm sorry, especially who is in the YouTube live. We have had a good few kind of people there watching pretty consistently for pretty much the whole live, so I definitely have to say thank you there. I have to say thank you to everybody who has subbed since the start of this stream. We are now ever closer to that magic number of 1,000 subs, so thank you so much for that. Everybody who is on TikTok, follow me. Head over to my link in the on my profile. It's in the link tree to my YouTube. Please sub to me there. We're so close to 1,000. We're only a few people away, so definitely thank you for that. Anyway, thank you genuinely just to absolutely everybody who has shown up, who has participated, who has joined, who has commented in the live chats, everything else like that. I genuinely from the bottom of my heart, I love you all. So we are definitely going to kind of end it there. I'm going to end it on TikTok now. So definitely, yes, thank you so much for joining in, everybody on TikTok. We'll see you in the next one. So that's ended there now on that, and then just me, and I'm not even there. Okay, so we're going to go back to the TikTok setup. I don't know why I'm not there on the there, but look, I'm here now, and that's all that fucking matters. So yes, genuinely, again, thank you so much to everybody in the YouTube chat. I genuinely love and respect every single one of you. So as I said, we're going to leave it there. I'm going to be back soon enough. It's going to be a little bit of different content. I'm going to be playing a horror game. I fucking hate horror games. I hate horror movies. I hate it all, but it's entertaining for you guys, and I watch them back and I laugh at them. So if I can laugh at them, so can you. So come watch me be an absolute fucking bitch on trying to play a horror game. I'm not 100%. I think maybe Saturday night. I'm not 100% sure yet. But look, keep an eye out on the channel for the scheduled views. I'm going to tweet out when I'm going to be playing it, and turn on your notifications on YouTube, and you'll see when I am there. So thank you, everybody. I love you all. Like, subscribe, do all of that YouTube robotics. I shall talk to you in the next one.